My niggas will take you got some. Ain't no faker where I come from. A lot of guns and a lot of drums. Bunch of shorties, they acting dumb. No guidance, they wildin'. All they see is red rum. We wildin', straight violence. That's where I come from. Free the guys where I come from. We them guys where I come from. Don't do that, we'll spank some. You know we'll face some. You know we'll lay some. You a lick, I take some. How I grew up, I can't fake nothing. If you get snatched, don't say nothing. Switch on the Glock, I spray some. Hop up with the chop, bro, I day some. Draco on the Glock, we'll lay some. Speaking on the game, we'll spray some. Police grab me, ain't say nothing. We get on your ass, better pray up. Better ask the last nigga tried to play us. Locked up 23 and 1 waiting. I was told trust none. If it's trouble, go get your gun. All about making funds. Do a hit, now I'm on the run. I can't forget where I come from. I was taught trust none. Gotta watch him like where you from. Gotta make it, I come from none. I was taught trust none. If it's trouble, go get your gun. All about making funds. Do a hit, now I'm on the run. I can't forget where I come from. I was taught trust none. Gotta watch him like where you from. Gotta make it, I come from none.
4340, the land of the savage, you know we can't go for none. We from the slum, we be killing for fun. You could get smoked for none. If I ain't in the land, then I'm on the lam, chillin' with Reese money. You send a threat, we confirming them checks. My killers get up on you. Back door close, can't trust none. Switch dress you up like a button up. Did my time, ain't say none. Came home button like I'm Draymond. Stop it with them indirect ass tweets. You know how I get in these streets. Walk them down if you say it's beef. Number brand new SITs and fully AIPs. Got a whole clip full of RIPs. That shit that go through trees. All black and we got on skis. Man, Reese pop out on feet. He up, I up, we squeeze. We back to block, don't speed. Double savage, you know how we bleed.
I was taught trust none. If it's trouble, go get your gun. All about making funds. Do a hit, now I'm on the run. I can't forget where I come from. I was taught trust none. Gotta watch him like where you from. Gotta make it, I come from none. I was taught trust none. If it's trouble, go get your gun. All about making funds. Do a hit, now I'm on the run. I can't forget where I come from. I was taught trust none. Gotta watch him like where you from. Gotta make it, I come from none. RP the guys that was one-on-one. RP OA was one-on-one. RP Mo, he was one-on-one. Hat stops for them, they gon' slump some. Old school, fuck around trunk some. Niggas be talking, ain't know none. Niggas be woofing, ain't at us. I get on your ass, ain't no let up. I just paid 2X for the sweater. Back then, used to tote a Beretta. Bullets come through a ring, now you need an umbrella. Police grab niggas, now they get to tellin'. Shots ring out, now niggas yellin'. Nowadays, everybody be tellin'. So ain't no tellin'. Lil' bro, take the case, I'm a felon. Try to get out, I ain't gon' let him. Fuck my old wall, found something better. Big 30 tucked under the sweater. 6, 8, 10, 4, I'ma hit him. Like somebody get him. 6, 8, 9, 5, I'ma hit him. Like somebody get him. I was told trust none.
I'm Japanese still. You getting cooked in front of your family like a Japanese meal. It's not soup to hibachi, and none of you niggas can stop me, but can't help but watch me. So look, bro, I did the video yesterday on Larry Elder versus the Breakfast Club. So I definitely had to review Vivek versus the Breakfast Club. He's a Republican candidate that went on there. And I'm still of the belief that the Breakfast Club is inviting these Republican candidates on there so they can smear their image and try to show the people why they shouldn't vote for them. Come on, we already know why. That's why it's not really an interview. You're not just asking questions to get their point of view. You're trying to run them down, man. You're trying to set them up. It's like people going to the hood to get a little, you know what I'm saying? And the girl set them up as two dudes behind the dumpster, and you got the 40 on your lap. That's the same thing going on. It's a setup, bro. So, but Vivek held his own, man. I liked his responses. And even when he was dealing with that woman that was very insufferable, I still don't know how to pronounce her name. Just like I don't know how to pronounce Vivek's last name. He fought through it and powered through it. But before we get to that video, I want to play Mark Levin's video because he don't hold back, man. See, a lot of these guys are old white people in the Republican Party that are afraid to say anything because they've been getting beat up all these years with these accusations. And they know how you are. They know how the media is. They know how the audiences are on social media and that's in the world. They know that all CNN, MSNBC got to do, Sonny Halston and all these people got to do is say they racist, say they sexist, misogynistic with no proof. you guys are going to circulate it. You're going to believe it because, again, ever since we were, little kids, that's all we heard about them. So they're afraid to fight back. But Mark Levin ain't afraid to fight back. The reason why Trump is in the jam he in, because he just like me. He ain't gonna back down. He gonna say what he got to say and stand on it, which in politics is a no-no, right? So I want to play Mark Levin and him giving the history of the Democratic Party. We've done it so many times on this channel just to give you guys a perspective that you wouldn't get from anywhere else, because most of these people, they go along, get along. That's all. They go along, get along. I'm excited. I'm happy to talk about something else than Israelite bullshit. I'm so sick of the Israelite conversation. I'm so tired of Afrocentric conversations. I just... And that's the thing. Politics is usually toxic, but if I'm running from that, and be like, listen, let's talk about something else right quick. Give me a break. Then that says something about the Israelite paradigm and the Afrocentric paradigm. It says a lot about it. But I want to talk about the conversation between Vivek and Charlemagne, DJ Envy, and the other guests they have, trying to press them. And I want to discuss what Mark Levin has to say about the history of the Democratic Party, because these people, like, if you go to the website, right? If you go to the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, and I understand a lot of y'all don't care about politics. You should, because these people rule the decision making in your country. And that's another thing too. A lot of you guys don't understand the concept of not shitting where you eat. America is our country. This is where we live. You know what I'm saying? You guys shit on it and shit on everything about it. You ain't got no sense of pride in where you at. Like, who raised you niggas, man? Who raised you niggas? But we taught like that from being, little. We taught by these damn ultra liberals to hate where we live, to hate our own goddamn country, man. Right? It could be worse. You could be in North Korea under the DPR and under the CPR in China. You could be under those regimes. But you in America, man, where you determine your own outcome, man, by the amount of effort you put into it. I know y'all don't want to hear that. Nah, man, white supremacy. I got a monkey on my back. Nah, I guarantee you, if you start listing out the issues that you had in your life, majority of them are going to be self-inflicted, bro. You understand? That's why, a lot of these media outlets don't talk about success stories with Black Americans or African Americans. They never discuss the person that came from poverty that shot all the way to the top if he's not a rapper. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't talk about DeSoto, Texas, which is a very affluent Black community. There's several in the Americas. We don't talk about that. We put a hyper focus on those that are in the struggle because we want to make that the image. We want to make that the representation of African Americans. And then y'all use that to buttress y'all claims to hate America. I'm of the belief, because it's been for the past 16 years, 12 of those years were under Democratic rule. You had two terms of Obama and one term of Biden. Then you had Trump. No, you had 2 terms of Obama, yeah, and one term of Trump. And then following him, Biden got elected. And Biden might get elected again next year. So that would be a total of 16 years of Democratic rule on the national level at the highest seat of government in America. And we see the effects of it. For the past 16 years, they've been running it. You know what I'm saying? We see the effects of it. So it's like Trump said, try something new. You know what I'm saying? But y'all not. Y'all going to keep going with the, you either not going to vote or you're going to vote Democrat. I already know. I know this demographic already. There's only a few people like me that be like, you know what? Let me stand up for conservative values. Let me vote for someone that is actually conservative, that's actually going to put policies in place that I can benefit from on the individual level. See, they be selling you guys delusions of grandeur. That's why y'all believe in reparations. Oh, reparations is going to help everybody. You don't have a community unless you have strong individuals. It has to be comprised of strong individuals to have a strong community. You understand? You have to have people within that community with skills, business sense, family values, so on and so forth, right? You guys have these delusions of grandeur. That's why you have the Messiah complex. One person gonna come in and like, it's your fault that these men out here doing. Nah, it ain't Yahshua's fault. You got to take individual accountability for the things you do, and that's the only step forward. And that's one of the creoles of the Republicans. That's why I rock with them. It's all about self accountability and building yourself up. Nah, man, yeah, the white man was gonna prevent me from. Nah, bro, you ain't even tried. You already tricked yourself out the streets. You already tricked yourself out the game. You're not even trying. You already made up 1,000 excuses on why you would fail instead of going out there and getting your feet wet. And whatever it is, you pursuing to be an entrepreneur, you spend all your time on the phone anyway, on the internet anyway, on social media anyway. Read, study, learn about these fields, learn about these markets. You want to be a plumber, learn what it takes to be a plumber. What certs you need, what licenses you need, how many years in the field you need before you can become a master plumber. You should be looking into all those things. Ain't nobody trying to go to school for all them years, so you're just going to sit and rot away and not accomplish anything. But this is the mindset, man. And that's because majority of our quote unquote demographic group, our ethnic group, is extremely left. We got this idea of the white boogeyman stopping us from doing everything, and you use that as an excuse to not achieve anything. That's why Larry Elder, when he was on there with Charlemagne says it's a cause and effect. And his cause for all of black people's woes and issues was white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? So can you blame white supremacy for the fact that Black women are more likely to get killed by the opposite sex within their own ethnic group? Can you blame white supremacy on that? Can you blame white supremacy on the fact that 71% of our children are born to single-parent homes? Can you blame white supremacy on that? What about the high violent crime that Black people inflict on other Blacks? Can you blame white supremacy on that? You can't. These are all things that are self-inflicted, so therefore it has to be self-repaired. Nobody wants to hear that. Unless you want a police state, you want the military to come in and shut everything down and give you guys mandatory curfews, and you got to have a special badge to go to work every day and go out into the public because crime is just that out of control in some of these inner city areas. Do you want it to come to that? Because that's what you're asking for if you want the government to solve all your problems. If you're asking, okay, government come in and see what James said. Yes, because they destroyed generational wealth. So it's not their fault. All right. So let the government come in and change the hood into a police state, because there's nothing Black people can do themselves to pull themselves out of the mire, even though white Southerners with the same culture that we have that's pervasive have today, they were able to pull themselves out of. Anyway, but we helpless. So let the government come in with a military state, and anybody can fix it. I got you, brother, but I'm just saying, if you go with the first part of your sentence, then it's all the government fault, and then if most people want the government to fix it. Brown shirts. Look, do your homework on Mussolini brown shirts. Bring the brown shirts in. These people need to be policed. Your children, you can't do anything on your own. Now the government has to act as your parent. And then now they got to act as a parent to come in and put the belt on your ass. Do you really want that? Do you want the United States of America to deploy troops into the inner cities to control this high rate of crime and violence that Black Americans do to each other? Yeah, they ain't. They never good at it. Every time in history, just do your homework on any time in history that governments do this radical shit. They go overboard, and they get the people in position of power. They get power hungry, and they abuse it. Never put yourself under the behest of the damn government. That's why I support Republicans, because Republicans are for less government, not more government. We want a smaller government. Government already has too much damn control and power. But you keep making these appeals for the government to do everything, they're going to put your ass in a situation you don't want to be in. And by the time you let them do it, it'll be too goddamn late. Because you're going to give all your freedoms away, right? Your right to bear arms, all your constitutional rights out the damn window. They're already attacking it. So wouldn't you rather the people fix the issues themselves internally instead of having the government come in, troops being deployed, and taking all your freedoms away, putting you on a mandatory curfew, search and seizures out the ass, no privacy? You want that? Shit. I brought up DeSoto, Texas. They don't talk about Black Americans being successful. It's like that sister said on the video. You know what I'm saying? They demarcate that anytime that happens. Oh, these are just black faces in high places. Like they didn't get there on their own merit. They didn't get there because they deserve the position. They're only there because they're puppets for the white master. This is how liberals talk. And it's insulting to anybody that achieves in this country that's of African American. It's insulting. It's not because of my hard work and dedication. It's because I'm put here to be a puppet. Who wants to hear that dumb shit? And why they say that? Because they got to keep the narrative of victimhood, that we can't achieve anything on our own. You have to be a victim. You have to be conspiring. If you're in high positions, you're conspiring, or a traitor of your people. Umar Johnson blamed every black male for the Pookies and Ray Rays. Y'all the reason Pookie and Ray, women pick Pookie and Ray Rays. No, sex has always been in the control of females throughout the history of mankind. They control sexual selection. Men don't. And why does random fucking men that are nothing like Pookie and Ray Ray, that believe in marriage, that believe in nuclear family, why are they being blamed for the small percentage that's probably having most of these damn unwedded kids and shit? Why are they being blamed? They're not doing any of that. They're not in the streets like that. They're not going around knocking 40 women down unprotected, getting children like that case in Memphis where 2 men were responsible for like 48 children. 2 men. Why should the community at large get blamed for what those 2 men do? We don't have accountability. We don't believe in self-accountability. We always want to pass the buck. It's everybody else's fault except the person committing the act. And that's what Umar Johnson is doing. He's, you black men are the reason. No, we not. Everybody that's in this ethnic group is not responsible. It's just like saying all 40 million African Americans are responsible for the percentage of people that commit violent crimes. No, we're not. We didn't go out there and rob the store. We didn't put a gun to the back of that person's head, the clerk. We didn't go and shoot the ops 3,000 times. We didn't do that. But you want to collect that. That's what it is. Collective judgment that comes from communism. That shit on the left. In DPR Korea right now, if somebody do something that's against the will of the Kim family, not only that person's going to get in prison or put to death, they're going to kill their whole fucking family because they believe in collective judgment. And these liberals and leftists believe in that too. But y'all don't hear me though. Y'all don't hear me. Anyway, so before we get to Vivek and his performance on Breakfast Club, I think he did a great job. But just know, these candidates are being put on these shows to be railroaded, humiliated and embarrassed. It's just like when a Hebrew Israelite goes on Garfield channel. The purpose of Garfield inviting Israelites on his channel or inviting Israelites on his channel to embarrass them and humiliate them. They think they're going on, I'm going to get my message out to thousands of people. No, it's to humiliate you and show the people that y'all ain't shit. The people should listen to you, follow you, vote for you, and none of that. That's it. That's why they not interviewing him. They're really grilling him when you look at the video. When you look at Larry Elder was being grilled by them, not interviewed. And I can't take Charlamagne serious because, again, you taking videos with your ass in the air, butt ass naked. You taking pictures with your ass in the air, right? I can't take nobody serious like that, man. You got some real issues. Birdman run in there and say, interview over, put some respect on my name. And you was like, I'm just a radio host. You bitched up. Like, nobody really takes you serious like that, man. You got ran off the street somewhere in New York. I remember that back in the Gap. Like, no, bro. You just a goofy, man. You was a career goofy. And then Biden get on there and disrespect the hell out of you. You don't say shit to him. You don't correct him. You don't say, nah, bro, we not doing that. That was racist. You don't do anything. You just let Biden say, if you don't vote for me, then you're not black. And nothing happened. It is what it is, man. Blackpill, bro. This is the Blackpill session. I'm just here to report the damn news. Say some of this shit ain't nothing you can do about it. You can only work on you, man. You can only work on the individual level. You can't worry about 40 million people because you don't control 40 million people. And we're not totalitarians. We don't control that many people, man. All we can control is what we do. That's it. Get out of that collective mindset, man. This hive mind shit be killing y'all. What's my purpose? What can I do? What you can do for yourself. You ain't got yourself out your situation. What you worried about everybody else for? Get out of your own situation. Build your own foundation. Vernon Robinson says, I've followed Larry Elder since 1997. It's about time African-American elders talk to the youth instead of merely about it. That's my only gripe in the past about Elder, but his pops is the MVP. I'm going to tell you right now, I believe James Cassell introduced me to a lot of black conservatives and conservatives in general. Before then, ultra left, because it's all I've been exposed to. I didn't know about the RNC. I didn't know about the first black politicians who were all Republican. I didn't know none of that. I had to do all that research after it was introduced to me through James, right? And many people have not been introduced to this information because they're not going to tell you that. When you go to the DNC website, watch, I'm going to show you something. Where is it? I'm going to go to the DNC website. So this is the DNC website. It just says, we are the Democratic Party. We are fighting for a brighter, more equal future, rolling up our sleeves and organizing everywhere to build a better America for all. It don't tell you nothing about their history. It don't tell you what their platform started on. It don't tell you that they have some of the worst crimes against humanity, period. Andrew Jackson, the Indian removal bill, slavery, fighting to keep slavery going, the Dred Scott decision that y'all love to quote, that was all Democrats. It's a laundry list. They don't tell you nothing, right? But when you go to the RNC, they can talk about how their origin, because their origin is not egregious like the Democratic Party, right? The Republican Party's legacy. We were originally founded in 1854 for the purpose of ending slavery. You're not going to find it on the Democratic platform because they can't talk about the origin of the Democratic platform. It's damning. Oh, man. Look, it says compels us. The fact that we're the party that started off to end slavery in America compels us to patriotically defend America's values as the left attempts to destroy what makes America great. The Republican Party is standing in breach to defend our nation in the way of life. But, majority of African Americans vote for the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, the party of black codes, the party of segregation, the party of Plessy versus Ferguson. Separate but equal, air quotes. Right? The party that took land right from you, money. They took all those things from you. That's why the DNC can't put that shit on their website. They can't advertise that everything that you complain about is the result of Democrats. Y'all just want to be mad at white people. It's the ideologues that's the problem, not no skin color. It's the people that have these ideologies and belong to those certain sects. That's why I tell you guys, it's great to be specific. You guys just want to throw large swaths of people, in prison. You want to indict large swaths of people instead of getting specific. That's collective judgment. You go to the RNC website, they proud. They can put why the Republican Party was started. Can't do that on the DNC. Anyway, let's get to our first video. Before we get to our first video, we are covered under the fair use. You will see the banner flashing on the bottom of the screen. Under Copyright 107, we are covered under the Fair Use Act. We are giving our criticisms, our commentaries, and we will be teaching tonight. So we are covered because we're using this for criticism, commentary, teaching, scholarship, and research purposes. With that being stated, let's get to our first video before we get to the Vivek versus Breakfast Club video. This is Michael Levin on exposing the Democrats and their views on race.
Being here, we have two great guests tonight. House Republican leader, great guests. I want to talk to you about a few things. The Democrat Party doesn't want to talk about inflation, immigration, food prices, gasoline prices, crime. It wants to talk about race, and it wants to talk about abortion. So let's talk about race and abortion. But it's time for a true discussion. Not the lies we get from the media and the tenured leftists and all the rest. Let's talk about the facts. And I won't even go to the Civil War, where the Democrat Party was tied to the hip with the Confederacy, where Jefferson Davis, president of the Confederacy, was a Democrat, where every one of his major generals were Democrats. No. And we won't even go to Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal is equal. But I will go to Woodrow Wilson. Let's start there. Woodrow Wilson was one of the great so-called leading progressive intellectuals of the late 1800s and 1900s. He became president of Princeton University. He was governor of New Jersey, and he was elected president of the United States. And as president, he overturned every major pro-integration law that was put in place by the Republicans who preceded him.
This is how to get fit.
This is a metabolism killer. This is a metabolism killer. And even this is a metabolism.
Wilson resegregated the departments of the federal government. He fired black federal administrators. He was openly sympathetic to the Ku Klux Klan. He opposed black suffrage and screened the racist movie Birth of a Nation at the White
Listen to look at this dude's rap sheet. And he's the father of the modern progressive movement, Woodrow Wilson. And to add insult to injury, because somebody, I ain't gonna say somebody, Du Bois was mad at Teddy Roosevelt because inaction towards a lynching that happened, I believe. Right? So since he was mad, he's like, we're gonna vote for Woodrow Wilson and the Democratic Party. Up to that point, we gave overwhelming support to the Republicans. We always just go to FDR, but really it started because of Du Bois. Du Bois, I did a whole video on this. Du Bois was like, I'm going to vote for Woodrow Wilson. And did you hear his rap sheet? He came and undid most of the efforts by Republicans in the past, putting them in positions of power in the White House, giving them high up positions of authority, he went and came in there and squandered all of that. And these are the people. Du Bois was able to snatch 30% of the black vote. He convinced 30% of black voters to vote for one of the most not one of the most, the most racist president in United States of America history. Listen to his rap sheet one more time, man. And yeah, Du Bois was a pro-black. Pro-black. Pro-blackers that got a long rap sheet of fucking up.
By the Republicans who preceded him. Wilson resegregated the departments of the federal government. He fired black federal administrators. He was openly sympathetic to the Ku Klux Klan. He opposed black suffrage and screened the racist movie Birth of a Nation at the White House. He was even critical of Reconstruction. Less than 60 years ago, the 1964 Civil Rights Act was opposed by 69% of Senate Democrats, supported by 82% of Senate Republicans. It was opposed by 61% of House Democrats and supported by 80% of House Republicans. So of those who voted no in the House, 74% were Democrats. Those who voted in the Senate, 78% were Democrats who said no. And among those who filibustered the legislation for 70 days was West Virginia's Democratic Senator Robert Byrd. And Byrd spoke for 14 hours in a desperate last-ditch effort to kill the bill. Yet Byrd would go on to serve as the Senate Democratic leader from 1977 to 89, including Majority Leader from 77 to 81 and 87 to 89, and Minority Leader from 81 to 87. In other words, he was the leader of the Democrats for a very long time in the Senate, despite his background. He was also the longest-serving senator in the history of the Senate. He came a long way, did Robert Byrd. As a young man, he was a chief recruiter and organizer for the Klan in West Virginia. And apparently did a very good job of it as a Grand Kleagle. When Byrd died, he was praised in glowing terms by the leading lights of the Democratic Party ruling class, including Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the rest. And several called him their great mentor. Okay.
They called this man their great mentor, the man that did not want the civil rights bill to be passed, that tried to stop the civil rights bill. You always bring up civil rights. Let's talk civil rights. The Democrats were trying to stop the bill from being passed and filibustered. It's the overwhelming support of Republicans in Congress and Senate that got it passed. Y'all don't care. Oh, that was a long time ago. These people still living today that say that that's their mentor, Robert Byrd. They said that's his mentor. One of them is the President of the United States.
But there's more. Joe Biden in the early to mid 1970s as senator actually worked closely with some of the Senate's most notorious racists and segregationists, including Mississippi Senator James Eastland, who had fought hard against the Civil Rights Acts of 1964 and 65. He was opposed to public school integration, but guess what? So was Joe Biden. Joe Biden didn't just compromise with segregationists. He fought for their cause in schools, experts say. And Biden has often bragged about receiving praise from the late Alabama Democratic Governor George Wallace, one of the leading racists and segregationists. Wallace called Biden one of the outstanding young politicians of America. But the Democrat Party's greatest icon was FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, largely due to his New Deal agenda, and it transformed the United States away from constitutionalism and capitalism towards centralism and socialism. And for this reason, more has been done to immunize his reputation from his racist legacy than any other public figure, dead or alive. 1942, Roosevelt issued Executive Order 9006, the military rounding up 120,000 Japanese Americans, including 70,000 U.S. citizens. They were forcibly relocated to internment camps in remote parts of the country. 10 different military camps in the Midwest, one in Arkansas. They lost their homes, their property, and their liberties.
That's called collective judgment. So we got beef with Japan, so now we're going to lock up all the Japanese Americans over here. And FDR was progressive and he was far left. And Mussolini even told him that his style of government is reminiscent of fascism. Because you always want to throw fascism on the right. FDR is on the left, he's a Democrat. And Mussolini that had a fascist government in Italy, basically told him, what you're doing over there in America is no different than what we're doing in Italy.
In 1944, in a case called Korematsu versus United States, the Supreme Court upheld the internment order in a 6-3 decision. And Associate Justice Hugo Black, writing for the majority, he led the way to uphold that decision. Now, who is Hugo Black? Black rose through the Democratic Party ranks in Alabama. He was a lawyer for the Klan in the 1920s. He resigned from the Klan but kept in contact with them. He was elected to the United States Senate with the help of the Klan in 1926. He opposed the Wagner-Costagan anti-lynching bill.
Warning, you could soon lose your job because of what's happening inside this building. You see.
And was an intensely loyal supporter of Roosevelt and the New Deal. In 1937, he was rewarded by Roosevelt as the first nominee to the Supreme Court. His overall record as justice is mixed and disputed. He was an activist.
And everybody that's, hard on that's really supporting reparations, understand is the only side that actually gave money for the wrongdoings is Republicans. The Japanese in the 80s, Ronald Reagan gave money for that. Right after slavery, what did the Republicans do? Gave land and other items as well to the newly freed slaves. The reason why y'all don't know that happened is because the Democrats, when they came back and rejoined the Union, they 86'd all of that. Because those old slave plantations were given to slaves. No one knows that part of history. Because it was short-lived, because Abraham Lincoln died, man. That's the biggest part, man. He died. John Wilkes Booth killed him. And then the sixth president, what's his name? Andrew Johnson, I believe it is. Andrew Johnson comes in. He's a Democratic president. And he's the first president to also get, impeached. And after he got impeached, he said, this country is for white men. And by God, as long as I am president, it should be a government for white men. They undid it. They undid what the Republicans set out to do. Abraham Lincoln, when he died, that fucked everything up. Andrew Johnson comes in. And then I believe in 1877, I'm going off memory, y'all, is when they allowed those Confederate states to come back into the Union and be in charge of decision making. Yeah, Andrew Johnson got impeached in 1868 because he was trying to stop the Civil Rights Act of 1866, the 14th Amendment, and the Freedoms Bureau Bill. That's history. Y'all would never learn this shit because they don't want to talk about it. Just like on DNC website, they won't tell you the origins of this party is deeply entrenched in slavery and mistreating black people. They will not say that. Hey, this is the time we live in. That's why it's Blackpill content. I'm just letting you know what it is. Most of y'all gonna be fooled and bamboozled and keep spreading the bullshit. Propagating misinformation.
This for Roosevelt's economic socialism, but he also insisted on the strict interpretation of the Bill of Rights, with certain main exceptions. That said, Hugo Black Jr., Black's son, recalling the appeal of the Klan to his father, stated the Ku Klux Klan and Daddy, so far as I could tell, had one thing in common. He suspected the Catholic Church. He thought the Pope and the bishops had too much power and too much property. So Roosevelt's first nominee to the Supreme Court had been an activist with the Klan. And of course, he wrote the majority opinion upholding Roosevelt's internment of Japanese Americans. Roosevelt also established the Federal Housing Administration, the FHA, in 1934. You may have used it, you may have heard of it. Its ostensible purpose was to insure mortgages, thereby promoting home ownership. but it furthered racial segregation. Why? It denied insurance in and around Black neighborhoods. Incredibly, the FHA was subsidizing builders who were mass producing entire subdivisions for whites, with the requirement that none of the homes be sold to African Americans. Did you know that? Of course not. The term redlining comes from the development by the New Deal by the federal government of maps of every metropolitan area. And the areas where we were not supposed to give these insurance backings for the mortgage were Black areas. They were called the red areas. Hence the term for redlining. Roosevelt infamously and unceremoniously slighted the great Olympian Jesse Owens in 1936. Owens had won multiple gold medals. The Olympians from 1936 in Berlin, Hitler's Berlin, were invited to the White House with the exception of Jesse Owens. Owens was once asked if he was snubbed by Hitler. Hitler didn't snub me, he said. It was FDR who snubbed me. The president didn't even send me a telegram. Even with lynching going on, I had mentioned that Senator Hugo Black, who'd become a justice on the Supreme Court, opposed the anti-lynching bill in the early 1930s. Roosevelt said he opposed lynching. He was lobbied by his wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, to support the bill, but he refused because he put politics ahead of principle. Roosevelt would not support or sign a federal anti-lynching bill, which would have to come later. I want you to think about that, folks. And there's more about the Democrats and Roosevelt, of course, even to this day. But the Republicans never stood in any schoolhouse doorway to block little Black kids from going to school with little white kids. The Republicans never supported systemic voter suppression or repression, as the Democrats did, and they claim today. The Republicans never supported Jim Crow, literacy tests, and all the rest of it, ever. And the Republicans never supported lynching. They were the ones pushing bills to end it. That's a piece of history of the Democrat Party. Now, of course, both parties are imperfect. There are exceptions. But the pattern, the malignant, persistent pattern in the Democrat Party goes way back. It's a very evil party. It's a very anti-American party. If they want to discuss race, let's learn our history. Let's learn their history, and let's discuss race. What amazes me with all the talk about tearing down Confederate monuments and symbols and burning their books and all the rest, changing the names of military bases, how is it that the name the Democrat Party persists and continues? Because
That's a good point. That's a good point. The Democrat Party is known for all these evils, all these injustices. Why are they able to keep the damn name? Y'all act like y'all against Confederates and shit. That's the party of the Confederates. You keeping the name, like you spitting in people's face with that name. Hey, but 80 to 90% of the Black vote is going to go towards Biden in the next national election. So what can you do?
they control the culture right now. Now let's talk about abortion. I've got no problem talking about abortion. The big push for abortion came at the beginning of the last century with Margaret Sanger, who founded the Planned Parenthood organization, which your tax dollars have gone to in the aggregate amount of billions of dollars to support. And Planned Parenthood, as they say, supports abortion. They pretend that they support other things, but they mostly support abortion. Now, what are we talking about when we talk about abortion? The Democrat Party voted a few months ago, they said, to codify Roe. They didn't vote to codify Roe. They didn't vote to codify any Supreme Court decision or any position other than the most radical position on the face of the earth. What did they want to do? Their bill that they proposed, which the media know, but they cover for them, eliminated parental consent for abortion. It supported partial birth abortion up to the last second of birth. You know what partial birth abortion is? Step one, the abortionist grasps one of the baby's legs with forceps. Step two, the leg is pulled into the birth canal, so they're turning the baby around. Step three, he uses his hands. The abortionist delivers the baby's body, the entire body, up to the neck. Then the abortionist forces scissors into the base of the baby's skull. He then opens the scissors to enlarge the hole. Then he takes a suction catheter, it's inserted into the hole, and the baby's brains are sucked out. Incredible, horrific pain for that baby right before birth. And then the child is removed, having been killed. The Democrat Party voted in support of that. And I do not understand why Republicans don't know how to explain that. Now, who is Margaret Sanger, the great feminist who founded Planned Parenthood, is pointed out in the Washington Times by Irina Grossu. She shaped the eugenics movement in America and beyond in the 30s and 40s. Her views and those of her peers in the movement contributed to compulsory sterilization laws in 30 U.S. states that resulted in more than 60,000 sterilizations of vulnerable people, including people she considered, quote, feeble-minded idiots and morons, unquote. She even presented a Ku Klux Klan rally in 1926, spoke to them. In Silver Lake, New Jersey, she recounted this event in her autobiography. She said, I accepted an invitation to talk to the women's branch of the Klan. I saw through the door dim figures parading with banners and illuminated crosses. I was escorted to the platform, was introduced, and began to speak. And in the end, through simple illustrations, I believed I had accomplished my purpose. A dozen invitations to speak to similar groups were proffered. In a letter to Clarence Gable in 1939, Sanger wrote, we do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members. 1939. Her own words in television appearances leave no room for parsing. She wrote many articles about eugenics in the journal she founded in 1917, the Birth Control Review. Her articles included some moral aspects of eugenics, June of 1920, the eugenic.
Yeah, the whole eugenics movement is fucking evil as hell. But Margaret Sanger was praised by Hillary Clinton and praised by Planned Parenthood today. Why? Because they making billions of dollars off the shit, man. Come on, man. Abortion is a $1 billion industry. That's all they care about. They don't give a damn about human life. They don't care about whether or not. And then it ain't they, they like, it ain't coming from my fucking community. I don't care. It ain't my baby. You niggas and Hispanics, y'all the ones doing it the most. Who cares? That's how eugenics think, man. These are highly racist people. When you look at history of eugenics, they believed in the hierarchical system. They believed white people at the top, black people at the bottom. They believed in it. So ain't no sweat off their back, man. You understand? Ain't no sweat off their back. They don't give a damn. So they support Margaret Sanger. You know what I'm saying? James Byrd being a mentor of these people, mentor of Obama and Biden. They look up to very evil ass people in history that mistreated black people. Then when they open up and say, oh, we're the party of diversity. Man, get the fuck out of here. You the party of mistreating those that are diverse. You got a long rap sheet of mistreated people, pushing abortion. How do you defend abortion? There was somebody on CNN saying, whoever leaked the SCOTUS decision, I want to make love with him so I can get pregnant and abort the fetus. That is, oh my God, I got to calm down. That is maniacal. That is just something a serial killer would say some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Which reminds me of that clip of the sister, they were interviewing these women. This woman had committed 2 abortions. And the girl in the back said, damn, double homicide. But how do you even say you playing and joking like that? How do you even joke like that? That's sick. Yeah, I wish I could meet the person that leaked the SCOTUS decision so I can get pregnant by him and abort the fetus. Like it's just a pastime. So y'all doing it just for the hell of it. I thought it was, I'm doing it for financial issues and black women don't have good Medicare and all this. No, that's bullshit. Y'all doing it because you can. And it all goes back to self-accountability and responsibility. You don't want to be responsible for your actions. And you want the government to bail you out every time you make a bad decision. And the government doesn't care because the government gets bigger and more powerful and has more control over what you can and cannot do. The antithesis to being free.
Conscience, February 1921. The Purpose of Eugenics, December 1924. Birth Control and Positive Eugenics, July 1925. Birth Control to True Eugenics, August 1928, to name a few. She was a horrific racist. And it wasn't until a year or so ago that Planned Parenthood and other apologists for Margaret Sanger finally threw in the towel 100 years later and said, yes, she was a eugenicist. She's the one that have pushed the abortion issue publicly and nationally in the United States. And look how the Democrat Party and the radical left runs with it. 79% of Planned Parenthood's abortion activity takes place in minority neighborhoods, mostly Black neighborhoods. This is the history of that organization. This is the history.
79% of abortions happen in minority neighborhoods, Black neighborhoods. We overrepresent almost every bad statistic. You guys should already know that. So how is this party pro? Well, again, I have to teach myself, I have to reteach myself that pro-Black actually is anti-Black. Anybody saying they're pro-Black or any party, political advocates say that they're for Black people, they actually are saying they're anti-Black because all of their policies seem to hurt Black Americans. You understand?
History of the radical abortion movement. This is the history of the Democrat Party. Now, you want to talk about race and abortion? Let's do it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way.
All right, so let's get to the Vivek versus the Breakfast Club. I just want to give y'all a primer on the history of the Democrat Party because a lot of you guys are not privy to it. You know, a lot of these people don't discuss their history, you know, and it's done on purpose. Like I said, I was over some in-laws back in May. I was over in-laws, and the guy said, what did Republicans do for Black people? I'm like, are you serious? They freed Black Americans from chattel slavery. Republicans did that? I'm like, you 80 years old, man. How do you not know that? Anyway, it is what it is. Versus the Breakfast Club. All right, so we're gonna move to this clip here and see how Vivek did. I have my opinion on how he did. See how you guys think he fared in this hostile environment. Let's get it.
No. Are you insane? Get your tail in your car and turn on them trips, girl, so you can treat yourself. Come drive with Uber. Stop playing before you burn your nose hairs. Before you burn your eyebrows off, honey. Are you kidding?
Wake that ass up early in the morning. The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Charlemagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Teslin Figaro is with us this morning.
I can't wait to see you attempt this name.
And we got a special guest in the building, Vivek Ramaswamy. Did I say it right?
That's actually pretty good. It's better than most hosts. Yeah, it's like Ramaswamy, like CD-ROM, but yeah.
What I said, Ramaswamy.
Yeah, you got it.
Ramaswamy. Well, good morning.
Good to see you guys.
How you feeling?
Good to see you too.
Feeling good, guys.
You're running for president.
I am.
Running for president. Yeah, you're actually polling third behind Trump and DeSantis right now. The latest Fox poll shows you
a distant third.
A distant third.
Distant third, yes.
I was about to say the third from second is huge, but what do you think you need to do to close that gap?
I mean, most people in this country do not know who I am. So against that backdrop, the fact that I'm ahead of a vice president and a bunch of U.S. senators and a former U.S. ambassador and governors is honestly ahead of where I expected to be right now. Our goal was to be in third by the end of the year. And then you have the Iowa caucus, and then you have the New Hampshire primary. And the fact that you go those early states in order makes it possible for an outsider like me to actually do this because we spend a lot of time getting to know people in those states. And so it's going to be a steady process. The debates, I think, are pretty key They start in August. I'm qualified for the debate stage already.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to like settings where we're debating. So hopefully that goes well. And, we'll see where this takes us.
Does anybody who's not a white male really stand a chance of being a Republican?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that there is
They
this.
don't seem like they're open to that kind of diversity.
I'll be.
You hear that? That's the garbage that you hear. That Republicans are not open to diversity. Historically, Republicans have always been open to diversity. They're the first political party in America to have black representatives. They don't seem to be the party to do that. And correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they're the first party to bring a woman in. Correct me if I'm wrong. You understand? First party to bring in Chinese, all that. They don't seem to be the party. See, this is why education is key, is vital. Nobody's being taught this shit. The Republicans, all these old white dudes are scared to say anything because they already got the image on them that they are racist. They're this, that, and the third. Right? They're all the ist. So they scared to defend them damn selves. It take people like him. What's the other brother? I got his book. Larry Elder. It take people like that. Candace Owens, Officer Tatum, to come out and teach the history. It's another East Indian man that be going hard. I can't think of his name right now. I own 2 of his books. Somebody in the chat can remind me what that brother's name is. They got these crazy names, man, that we're not used to speaking in America. So it's hard for me to recall it. But he's got a couple books on it about how the inner cities is a modern plantation for black people. It's like the Democrats shift us from one plantation to a new plantation in the inner city. Talking about so they're not up to their diversity. You had several black Republicans running in the last election as congressmen, Senate, local, state, and we see that nationally that they've been running. So I remember Ben Carson ran in 2008 in the Republican primary. That was 2008 when Obama won. There's no diversity. No, there's no black support or no a lot of. I can't say a lot because Hispanic support Republicans, but on African American side, there's not that much support. Yes, but there's still black Americans that are Republicans and conservatives, and they have seats of power. It doesn't seem like the party for that. What? Misinformation, probably disinformation. Yeah, Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams, Charles Everett. There's a lot more, bro. There's a lot more. You had a black Republican run in New York. He lost because New York is fucking deep blue. But, come on, man. Stop playing, man. It doesn't seem like the party for that.
I'll be honest with you. I travel the country. I have not really experienced meaningful racism from grassroots conservative audiences for the last, several years that I've been, since I stepped down from my business career. That was a different world I was in. But for my book tours and everything else, and then now for this campaign, traveling the country, it's funny. That's the impression that you get from the media, meeting people from Iowa, Ohio, Michigan, New Hampshire. I don't see that at all. In fact, I just see a hunger for substance, ideas, what's actually going to make the country better. I am very encouraged by that. And I think that more people should. I used to live here in New York as well. And I'm not saying this about you guys, but I remember for me, you get trapped in a bubble. When we get out of that bubble.
I'm going to South Carolina.
Well, perfect. Well, yeah, South Carolina. When did you grow up there?
My whole life. I didn't move to New York till 2006. So I understand
exactly 2006. Yeah, but I actually think a lot of what I'm saying is specific to. I think the country is in a different place today, even than it was in the 90s and 2000s. I grew up in Southwest Ohio in the 1990s. Very different environment than it is today. But anyway, I mean it as a good note. I don't think that there's some sort of racist obstacle in the mind of Republican primary voters. Actually, if you look at the Republican field, even some of those other people on that poll you were mentioning, Tim Scott, Nikki Haley,
yeah.
Go down the list. There's even others as well. Larry Elder, black man's running. I think we'll see who ends up succeeding. But whoever it is, I don't think it's going to be a racial bias that holds me back.
Why should people vote for you?
Yeah, so I'm somebody who is coming in as an outsider to the system. And I think in the White House, when it comes to the White House, if we really want to reform a lot of the corruption in government, it is going to take an outsider to get that job done. I'm 37. I'm the first millennial ever to run for president as a Republican. And I think I have a view on our generation of what's going on in the country, where we are all so hungry for a cause, for purpose and meaning and identity. But the things that used to give us that sense of purpose, faith, patriotism, family, hard work, these things are out. And that's why we latch on to fill in the blank. I mean, in conservative circles, a lot of us will point to wokeism, gender ideology, the climate cult, COVIDism. But you could fill in the blank with depression, anxiety, drug use, suicide. I think these are symptoms of a deeper hunger for purpose and meaning in our country. And so in some ways, I'm running as a member of my generation to say that we can fill that void with the things that actually give us real purpose. Revive family in America. That's actually a big part of my platform. It's what allowed me to achieve success. My parents gave me a great family foundation. I didn't grow up in money. We're trying to give that to my 2 kids as well. I want that to be enjoyed by Americans across the country. Belief in the country, national pride. Less than 16% of Gen Z even says they're proud to be an American. I'm not making this one up. This is about a month ago. There was a good survey. 60% of young Americans said that they would sooner give up their right to vote than to give up access to TikTok or other social media. That's a problem. So I think we have a crisis of national pride.
Whose fault is that, though? That's America's fault. That's the system's fault for constantly failing the people.
Well, you know, I see it. I see it less about. We can allocate the blame. We can talk about allocating the blame. I think there's blame to go around. I think it's up to all of us to take a long, hard look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what is that vacuum in our heart? It's an old saying that goes, if there's a hole the size of God in your heart and God does not fill it, something else will instead. I think the same applies for belief in a nation as well. So I think what's going on is we're human beings. What makes us different from animals is that we can believe. We need to believe in something bigger than ourselves. And when we lose God and family and country, we start believing in new false gods instead. That's what's going on in the country. And so I don't know that it's so much a question of fault, but more a question of how do we actually revive our sense of self-confidence
it's
and
definitely
pride.
a question of fault. I can absolutely blame white supremacy, 100%.
Really?
Yeah.
Everything's white supremacy fault, but you support the white supremacist party. You know, but again, it goes back to just fighting a ghost. Yeah, white supremacy ruled and reigned in this country. You understand? The Civil Rights Act happened in the 1960s. But blaming every damn thing on white supremacy is, again, the ghost factor, the ghost of Tsushima, right? You're just trying to find and fight a ghost instead of being specific and targeting what's actually plaguing us. And you don't want to talk about it because when Larry Elder was on the show, when he brought those things up, you didn't want to address any of it. You didn't want to address the homicide issue amongst Black Americans. You didn't want to address anything, fatherless homes. You didn't want to address none of those things, the attack on the nuclear family. You went straight to what do white people do wrong on white supremacy. That's it. This is why these conversations don't go nowhere. But this is the pro-Black initiative. This is how pro-Blacks get down. Charlemagne represents the average pro-Black person. The conversation ends and begins with white supremacy and nothing else, even though they support the party of white supremacy, white ideology, eugenics, abortion, so on and so forth.
See, say more, and then I'll respond to that.
I mean, just look at the history of the country. Like, it's just really just that simple for me. The country has never fulfilled.
You heard what he said? Say more, explicate. This is how you can find a bullshitter, is make them explain what they're saying. Don't say white supremacy. White supremacy is white supremacy because, and then you finish that sentence. When people just throw out buzzwords, they normally don't know any damn thing about the topic, have no real value to give to the conversation. And that's when the time you exit door left, because like, what am I talking to you for? You're just throwing buzzwords out there. And it's not just white supremacy y'all use. There's a lot of terms y'all use. I remember sovereign citizen was a term being thrown out there, and they couldn't really go into detail what the hell that is. No, I'm a sovereign citizen. What does that even mean? Can you break that down? No, you can't. You just used to regurgitate certain phrases and think, oh, well, I'm going to shut them down just by saying white supremacy.
There's promises of freedom, liberty, and justice for all. It's always been freedom, liberty, and justice for some. And usually that some is white people.
So here's what I would say in response to that. That is obviously true that the nation has fallen short of our promise since our founding. But walk through some obvious facts about America. We're not founded on an ethnicity or a monarch or a food or even a religion. We're founded on a set of ideals that brought a group of people together in 1776, and we live by those ideals. At least we aspire to those ideals today. A nation that aspires to ideals that's not made up of gods, but made up of human beings will always fall short of those ideals. So I think our worst hypocrisies as a country, and we have many of them, our worst hypocrisies are our best evidence that we have ideals at all. You take a look at other countries. Nobody ever calls the Chinese Communist Party a hypocrite, or China a hypocrite, or Iran a hypocrite. Why is that? Because to be a hypocrite, you at least had to have ideals in the first place.
But a lot of
and so we're imperfect, but we are about the pursuit of a more perfect union, the pursuit of happiness. America's about the pursuit. And so I think that trashing ourselves, I think we are actually.
I say that is because, we never were included in those ideals originally.
Yeah. But never and not originally are two different things. Originally, that's true. Over 250 years of progress, if you had somebody who was in 1870 looking at the world we live in today, if you had somebody in 1960 who was looking at the world we live in today as it relates to race in America, we would be darn close to what they would have thought of as the promised land. So I think we have to recognize that America is about that pursuit. We're a lot further along than we were 250 years ago. And here's the other thing too. We got to set our expectations. We will always fall short of our ideals. By definition, if there are human beings and not gods living in a nation that aspires to ideals, we are fallen. Man is fallen. That's what makes us who we are. But what also makes us different from animals is that we have ideals. So America's founded on our humanity, that we can believe and aspire to something that we will still fall short of. That's what makes this country beautiful. And that's why that's why I'm in this. You ask me, why am I in this? I care about reviving pride in that nation, because if we get into the habit of just bashing that country, what are we bashing? We're bashing the last best hope that man has for aspiring to those ideals. Tell me who else has done better. I'll wait.
I don't think I'm bashing the country. I think I'm bashing the system.
Okay.
I want to change. I want to change the system.
Well, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm with you on changing the system. It's what brings me into this.
And what's your thoughts on some of the people that you're running against?
Some more. Just what does that even mean? I want to change. Change what about the system? I want to change the system. I'm not bashing the country. Yeah, you are. And what do you mean by that? Not a buzzword, system. Like as we've seen with the Larry Elder episode. It's the system. It's the system. It's racist. It's system. Instead of saying, this is what I want to change about the system. I have examples. Here it is. So just throwing blanket statements out there. We don't even know what the hell you're talking about, man. But I want to correct something about what they said about early American history, and that originally the idea wasn't applied to all Americans. And the reason why I said it, well, obviously it was slavery. Well, actually, no, the founding fathers were arguing about this shit because they put the damn text out. It's like, wait, it says all men equal. And that's when you start getting conversations about, well, I don't view black people as men. That, man, people, y'all gotta read, bro. Y'all gotta fucking read, man. Y'all just gotta start reading. Get off YouTube. Stop watching videos all goddamn day. Stop being on social media. Go purchase some fucking books and read history. We don't even know our own country's history. And you want to learn about Israel 3,500 years ago. You don't even know the situation here. You don't know how your government works. You don't know how the two parties work. You don't know none of that shit. You don't really know Black American history. All you can tell me is Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King. Anything outside of that, you're clueless. Go and read, man. Read. I can't stress that enough. But if you know about the people that drafted it, they did like Thomas Jefferson, he did attack the institution of slavery. But you won't know shit like that watching people like this because they themselves don't. They either don't read or they know and they don't want to bring it up because it goes against their fucking talking points.
Against Donald Trump and DeSantis. What are your thoughts on them and their leadership and what they've done for the country so far?
You know, I think everybody's made their respective contributions. I respect some things about what each of them have done. I think the Republican Party, I tell this to conservative audiences all the time, obsesses over the question of the who. You know, Ronna McDaniel, she was the chair of the Republican Party versus somebody else, or Kevin McCarthy or somebody else, or Donald Trump or somebody else. This is a superficial discussion versus actually just taking a step back. And the Republican Party does not do this enough. What do we stand for? And why do we stand for it? Actually, a lot of my criticisms are also directed at the fact that we define ourselves. When I say we, I'm running as a Republican, but as a party in opposition to something. All right, that's what Joe Biden did. That's what the radical left does. And race, gender, sexuality, climate. I'm opposed to a lot of these ideologies of identity, but the right falls into the trap of just saying we're not those things. And then we'll fight about which biographies win. Oh, I'm actually a bigger and more accomplished person than you, and I'm going to sling mud at you, versus asking the question of what do we actually stand for? For me, it's about individual, family, nation, God. You can agree or disagree, but at least that's a vision that's...
Hey, Vivek, you've been watching my videos, my nigga. You've been watching my videos. It's the individual, man. Y'all want this grandiose uprising, a Christianized rebirth or some shit, or baptism that baptizes the whole damn community, instead of saying, hey, take a step back, look at the individual. Each individual needs to do things great. Each individual needs to improve their quality of life. Vivek, you've been taking notes. You've been taking goddamn notes, man. Because without strong individuals, you don't have a goddamn strong community. It's common goddamn sense.
It's different from a vision of identity grounded on race and gender and sexuality and climate. And so that's a long way of saying, I guess, what I see as deficient in the field, and entire Republican field, including candidates you mentioned, is they're all running from something. And I'm in this race because I want us to run to something.
What is that something?
A vision of what it means to be American. Okay. Revive the ideals of 1776. Revive the truth, meritocracy, excellence, freedom of speech, rule of law. A radical idea. This is not a Democrat or Republican idea, that the people we elect to run the government ought to at least be the ones who actually run the government. That's not the case today. You want to talk about fixing the system. You want to talk about one of the myths where we fall short of our ideals. We're taught in school that we have 3 branches of government. They're irrelevant compared to who actually runs the government. It's a 4th branch of government of 3-letter agencies in Washington, D.C. That is a formula for corruption. Corruption we get. That's a system we need to break down.
Who are those 3?
I mean, you could go down the list. SEC, FDA, EPA, TSA. The tens of thousands of government bureaucrats working in Washington, D.C., they're the ones who actually make the laws. It's not Congress. And that's a formula. And those people aren't elected. Nobody elected them. They're protected by these what are called civil service protections, which means even the president, technically, under many people's beliefs, can't fire them. That's the permanent state, what many in the right will call the deep state. I think that's a problem. I think that falls short of our ideals. I think the same FBI that threatened Martin Luther King with suicide on the back of incorrectly collected tapes is now committing, I would say, hypocrisy and corrupt actions against people of a different political persuasion that the FBI doesn't like today. I just think it's a formula for corruption when you have unelected bureaucrats that are actually setting policy. But that's a detail compared to my point, which is we need to revive the ideals that the nation was actually founded on and do a better job of aspiring to them.
Now we have Teslin Figueroa. I'm sure Teslin has some questions. Tez, you good?
Yes, I do. So I've heard a lot of, what you think and your vision. And
her job on the show is to tear down the Republican candidate. He did a great job of explaining certain things, restoring ideals. Leftists don't care about those ideals because they're against the Constitution. They don't even want you. They want to blame crime on the right to bear arms when criminals are not fucking regular citizens. Criminals are, just like the word implies, criminal. I'm a regular citizen. I have a right to bear arms, protect my family from threats that are domestic and foreign. You want to take that away from it? Was just a guy in Dallas. They was trying to kick his damn door down, armed. They were armed. What did he do? He pulled his pistol or whatever weapon he had, and he shot through the door at him. They want us to live in a society where because the criminals don't go to no goddamn gun store and buy their pistols and their ammunition. They get it on the black market. So you can make 1,000 laws. It's really a moot point because they don't go and get most of their weapons legally. You idiots. All you're doing is putting a chokehold on the normal citizens that don't live those type of lives. So when he said restore the ideals, these people on the left are against the ideals. They're against freedom of speech. They're against being able to carry a weapon, owning a weapon. They're against all those things. Is her pulled back too tight? Watch the criticism after all the things he said. And this is why I said these are not interviews. This is really just an attack of someone's character and smear campaign. Listen to what she criticizes him on. You can't make this shit up, man.
And I'm a very practical person, and I want to kind of opposed to talking about your opponents. Let's talk about you for a moment, and let's actually talk about your policy. Explain to me your position on this civic duty voting.
Sure. So my position is, I think that every kid who graduates from high school should know the minimums about the country that we require an immigrant to know about the country in order to become a citizen. So there's a test. My mom had to pass it. Every immigrant has to pass it to this country that asks you some basic questions. What are the 3 branches of government? What branch of government does the U.S. president lead? Some basic questions about what is the Bill of Rights. It's like a multiple choice exam, or some of them you write in. I think that if we're going to ask immigrants to pass that test, as we should, I think every 18-year-old who graduates from high school should have to pass that as well, because young people, it goes back to that issue of pride. You don't value a country that you don't know something about. You don't value something you inherit. You value something you have a stake in creating, in building, or knowing something about. So how do we think big about this? Well, young people, as I told you, most of them, very few of them vote as it stands today. Super small numbers. And apparently 60% of them say they would rather give up their right to vote than give up TikTok. Well, I say, all right, let's take that to the next level. How about we do something that raises the voting age from 18 to 25, but you still get to vote at 18. Mm-hmm. If you just pass that same civics test that an immigrant has to pass in order to vote. And tests aren't for everybody, so be it. Then you at least serve in the military or a first responder role for 6 months. That's my civic duty voting proposal. And the reason is, I'll actually make a prediction. I think youth voting in this country will skyrocket. From a very low level right now, it will skyrocket because you value something you actually have to earn. And I think that this is not a left-wing or right-wing point. We all have duties as citizens, right? You know, we aspire to free market capitalism, right? Materialist advance. And that's the life I've lived as well, by the way. My parents came to this country with not a lot of money. I've lived the American dream. I've made a lot of money by building businesses. That's one side of what it means to be an American. But part of it is we also have duties to this country. And I think the more we wake that up, actually, the voting age only became 18 in 1971 in the context of the Vietnam draft. So I just think reviving those ideas is going to be good for us.
A lot. So let's prove your point. Nick, our camera guy, do you know the 3 branches of the federal government?
Over 24, so it don't matter.
But I'm just saying, but nobody knows there are 24. Red, do you know the 3 branches?
Executive.
Well, I got a test. I would like to see if you're willing to pass, because I believe in, just as you believe in civic engagement, I believe in changing the ideas of what political opponents look like, what they should look like, or political candidates. Are you willing to take a test with me quickly? Because I just have a couple of questions for you.
I will, absolutely. So and the way this is opening up, I have a feeling I'm about to fail it, but that's good. Let's do it.
That's right. Yeah. Just for clarity, I am an independent.
You heard what she said? That's right. You're going to fail it. Because he's like, I'm about to fail it. That's the point. I'm about to go on here and make him look like he's unfit for office. Now, they ain't doing this. They're not going to do this to Democrat candidates. They're not. The Democrat candidate's gonna go in there and be able to spell their vision out and tell everybody what they're there to run. Oh, I'm here to give rights to all the gay kids, and I think we should be able to educate our children about LGBTQ and what that means. They can say all that. I'm for transitioning at an early age. They can say all that. No criticism. They're not gonna critically analyze that. They can be like, look at the back. Love is love. They can say whatever the hell they want to say. He's a Republican. He's an enemy to them. So, let's go in here, demarcate him, see if we can embarrass him. I'm going to give him this test. Listen to this test. It's so fucking silly what she's about to say. So goddamn silly. I'm going to let it play.
And then I'm not a Democrat or a Republican.
Cool.
I think that's important for the premise of the argument.
Nope, you are a Democrat. Everybody that says they're independent, vote left. You niggas, I'm balanced. Name a Republican you voted for. Name one. Whether it's in a local or state or national, name one. Okay, now, how many Democrats you vote? You didn't vote all Democrat up and down the goddamn ballot. I'm independent. No, niggas is Democrat, independently Democrat. That's what it is.
Because I know you did a lot of debating at Harvard. I also want to make it clear these are the same questions that I asked liberal Democrat Marianne Williamson. So I want to make sure that we put that out there as well, just to kind of set the foundation.
I'm open to being humbled. Let's do this.
Okay, great. Let's go. So you mentioned, the pride of being an American and how important it is to have pride in this country. I'm also a veteran, by the way, for the United States Air Force. So when is it that you voted for the first time?
I voted in 2020.
Okay, so you're how old again?
I'm 37 years old.
So for how many years you sat around and did not get involved at all in any civic engagement? Is that my understanding?
A long time is the answer. And actually, that's what I wrote this book about. I'm not holding myself out as some sort of model. I'm actually offering myself as a self-reflection of my journey as a citizen to whom this country has given much, right? As an adult, when you have kids, it changes your perspectives. I'm very honest about that. Absolutely.
Okay, no problem. So let's go deeper into the self-reflection. So you've sat around for.
So basically, you sat around and didn't do anything because he only voted in 2020. So her whole point, what she's going to get to, you ain't did shit on a civic level, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, you can't run for president. That's not how the United States works, ma'am. Anybody can run for president. Anybody. It's up to the people to decide if we want that president. What country do you guys think y'all live in, man? Y'all want to be CPR China so bad. Y'all want to be DPR Korea so fucking bad. But you going to get the short end of the stick. Let's just play the scenario. China wins, I guess, a Cold War. That's not even say it's a hot war. They just win a Cold War. And the United States crashes. And the government is no longer able to sustain itself, and China takes over. Just hypothetical. What position you think you're going to be in that government? You think you're going to be able to be on the Breakfast Club running your mouth against CPR? They're going to shut your ass down, lock you up, lock you and your family up. You said, what about what? Get them. Y'all don't know what y'all wishing for, man. Y'all don't know what y'all want. So you want to demarcate this man, which you can't because he's in the RNC already. He's already made the first debate. He's in the primaries. I'm most likely going to vote for him, man. If something happened to Trump, it was Ron DeSantis, but it's looking like Swampsy's going to be my next pick. Vivek is going to be my next pick. He said Air Force, he probably worked in the office.
And sir, I'm being as respectful as I possibly can. Please don't take anything
and you don't even have to be. And you don't even have to be. So take it off and let's go.
So you've been sitting around in the country that my ancestors built for about 20 years. Your parents came over.
What does that mean? Oh, my ancestors built this. You've been sitting around about 20 years. This is her demarcation tactic. So he can't, because what you're going to get to is he shouldn't be running for president. That's basically what you're trying to say. So you bring up, my ancestors built this. So he can't run for president? You ain't, that's first, let's get this out. Let's get that out of the way. You're not going to vote for him if he makes the ticket. You're not going to vote for him. You ain't going to vote for one Republican. Mrs. Independent. But why does it matter? Because you have an audience and you want the audience to understand that, hey, do not vote for this guy. Hey man, he disrespecting us. He coming over here. My family built this. My ancestors built this. He has no right. He hasn't did anything but become rich. That's another thing about the left. The left hate rich people. They hate billionaires. James, you always on the left side, man. Go sit on her lap, man. Go sit on her lap. Go play Santa Claus. Anyway, well, she'll be playing Santa Claus with you. Anyway, she is demarcating him for running. She is demarcating him from running. If you watch the whole goddamn thing, she says, how can you run the greatest office? How can you run in the greatest office in the United States of America and you haven't did any civic duty? She says that verbatim. Yeah, but that don't mean that you fucking are right. You're not right now. You on the left, dude. You be having leftist talking points. It's like I was on the left then, I'm on the right now.
As immigrants brought you over, you made millions according to your resume off of this country, and you have absolutely not been involved in civics. One, not voting, and two, let me just ask, because I know you mentioned earlier you don't want to sit around at the debate and talk about accomplishments. Let's make the accomplishments pretty simple. You did not get involved at all in any civic engagement. Is that my understanding?
A long time is the answer. And actually, that's what I wrote this book about. I'm not holding myself out as some sort of model. I'm actually offering myself as a self-reflection of my journey as a citizen to whom this country has given much, right? As an adult, when you have kids, it changes your perspectives. I'm very honest about that. Absolutely.
Okay, no problem. So let's go deeper into the self-reflection. So you've sat around for, and sir, I'm being as respectful as I possibly can. Please don't take anything
and you don't even have to be. And you don't even have to be. So take it off and let's go.
So you've been sitting around in the country that my ancestors built for about 20 years. Your parents came over as immigrants, brought you over. You made millions, according to your resume, off of this country, and you have absolutely not been involved in civics. One, not voting, and two, let me just ask, because I know you mentioned earlier you don't want to sit around at the debate and talk about accomplishments. Let's make the accomplishments pretty simple. In high school, were you ever a class president?
James, I know you want to ruin this video. That's why you want to come on here. But I'm going to finish my video. He said one point is about him to tell us how to vote. Yeah, I agree that we should have some knowledge of this damn country. But should I be like, oh, that gives you a right away, your right to vote away? No, I don't agree with him there. But her purpose is to say he does not belong or nor have the right to run for president. In the United States of America, there is no stipulation like that. She's just saying that because this is a demarcation campaign. And you know better. That's exactly what she's doing. God, man.
Or take any leadership role, because your opponent did, Chris Christie. He was the class president. So have you ever taken any leadership at all on anything, or just?
Can I just correct a couple factual things that are kind of important? My parents didn't bring me over to the country. I was born in this country, and I'm proud of that.
No, I know you were born here in Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio.
You mentioned my parents.
I'm saying your parents were immigrants. My apologies.
That's all right. You said your parents brought you over to this country. I
thought
I would set that record straight.
I mean, they were immigrants, but let's not go down the water hole.
No, we're not going to water. I just want to correct a couple facts, and then the other thing is
you were born here in Ohio.
I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's right.
Right. So you've been here your entire life. So the question is. Did you take any leadership role in middle school, high school, class president?
I did.
I know you played tennis. What is it? Explain it to us.
Student council. But I think that this is yes, I have held leadership roles over my life, but those don't qualify me to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it kind of does. Okay, it kind of does. Well, I'm giving the test. I'm the test administrator.
All right, there you go.
So it
it kind of does. This is what qualifies you. If you're not the line leader, if in kindergarten you weren't the line leader, you can't run for president of the United States of America, according to this idiot. If you wasn't the head of student council in middle school, whatever school you went to, you can't run according to this idiot. That's not nowhere, no stipulation, no law or nothing. But she done made up her own fucking criteria to say, well, whether or not he cannot run. No, that's the people. That's the will of the voter, you idiot. to decide whether or not we want this man to run. And you're not Republican anyway, so you're not going to be voting in the damn Republican primaries, or are you? I'm going to vote Chris Christie. For what? You want the Republicans to lose. You just don't like Republicans. You don't like anybody on the right. So your job on this show is to say, hey, this is why you shouldn't vote for him. That's it. Which is, you're talking to nobody, because the Breakfast Club is going to be largely a left-leaning viewership. They already were going to vote for this nigga. You know, oh, we're going to bring him on here and get an interview. Yeah, interview my ass. Y'all came in here to get the G-check this nigga. Remind them, nigga, how you going to tell us this and run for the motherfucking country and you ain't even from here? Then he had to correct him. Well, my parents are immigrants, but I was born here. Oh, I'm sorry. But you wasn't a leader in the line, in your line at kindergarten. How many smiley faces you get in kindergarten? How many times did you do something for other people? That's what she's going to argue here in a minute. Instead of yourself, because the left hates rich people. He's a very rich person. Very successful person. They hate billionaires. They hate people that make money. Even though it's billionaires and people that make money that back them. It's kind of ironic. Oh, you just selfish. You only do for yourself. No, maybe we should be more model like people like that.
Kind of does, because when you go from saying I want to go to the highest office,
and I'll tell you, I've led companies as well. Is the other leader?
Right,
the main leadership role I've played is and I want to talk about one early part of your premise that I also want to say, bring it to the country point. The other points, you use the word sitting around. You know, I'm not somebody who's saying I want the next generation, my kids' generation, to have more civic duties when they graduate from high school and college than I did when I did. That being said, I wasn't sitting around. I've developed medicines, 5 of which are FDA-approved products today, one of which is a life-saving therapy in kids, 20 of whom die by the age of 3 if they're not treated, 70% of whom now live lives of a normal duration. Another one for prostate cancer. So I don't apologize for making contributions. But
right. Well, I don't want you to filibuster that
no
because that's not the question that I asked. And I don't consider, as a veteran, I'm talking about service. I'm not talking about what you did for profit. I'm not talking about what you paid people to do with your company.
So I've not served the country
because that means nothing to me.
You do
what I'm
realize
talking,
she hasn't been able to ask a question. She's been trying to ask a question, and you've been talking over.
I'm all ears.
We gave you the platform to let you say.
I'm all ears.
I'm all ears. No, I was just correcting.
You gave her the platform. You gave him the platform to be, you know what I'm saying, lambasted and beat up on by this woman. That's why you gave him the platform. Anyway. Hey, this Blackpill too. I'm not trying to change you guys into Republicans or change you guys as mine. I'm just putting the information on the table. So, you know, at least you get some kind of education on it instead of everything about these people is racist. Everything about these people is sexist, misogynist, fascist. Instead of that view, it's something different. I know you hear that 1,000 times over when it comes to politics. But it's Blackpill, really, because a lot of this stuff ain't going to change. Most black people are still going to vote Democrat. They're still going to be left. And we're still going to lead in most of the negative fucking statistics in America. Because no one's going to take accountability. No one's going to do what he said about the individual and building character from that point. No one's going to do that on a mass level. So we're going to continue to fucking be last place. But I just do these videos just to sprinkle that knowledge out there for anybody that may be interested. But the whole purpose of this was a setup, man. Like I said, this is like you going to the hood, you think you're about to smash, and this girl set you up with 2 niggas behind a dumpster. You got the 40 on your lap. You're like, who them 2 niggas behind a dumpster? You know what I'm saying? You about to make me get a triple homicide. I'm going to kill you and them 2 niggas because you just set me up. This is all this is. A setup. And Republicans get bashed because they just say they don't go out to these different platforms to reach, pretty much outreach to other groups. But they know if they do, this is what will happen. If you do take your ass to Breakfast Club, this is how you're going to be treated. If you do go to Roland Martin, this is how you're going to be treated. Roland Martin asked, what was it, Tim Scott? So why none of your other Republican friends come here? Why? So they can be called racist all day and you go, well, this is white supremacy, this is racist, da, da, da. It's not going to be productive. They're not going to be able to go out there and say, okay, this is the policy and bills that I plan to pass, or this is what I supported, or none of that. It's going to be, you niggas is racist. I want the world to know. That's it. And what does it always do? What it's designed to do? Generate more traction for Democrats. This is why I believe that 2024, Biden is going to be the next president. He's going to continue his presidency unabated. And we will have 20 years of Democrat rule over the last 24 years. You get what you asked for. Illegal immigration is going to skyrocket like it's been skyrocketing. Which I'm like, okay, well, you whoop your own ass. My mom used to tell me, you whooped your own ass. Like, you whoop your own ass with your own decisions, or inaction or action. And, this country over time is going to be more, Latino, which I don't got no problem with because I'm Latino descent. I love Spanish music, Spanish language. I think it's the most beautiful language in the world. You motherfuckers the ones going to suffer behind it. When I say you, it's going to be the people on the bottom. Because they're going to compete and take your economy that you depend on. Oh, no, that's xenophobia. No, that's the truth. That's the fucking truth. And that's why I got to put that black pill in the title. You're going to get out-competed. And that's it. It is what it is. Why should I give a fuck? You don't give a fuck. These people on this channel, these people that's on Breakfast Club, they don't give a fuck.
You didn't ask a question yet. Every time she tries to ask a question, you've been cutting her off. Good.
I'm all ears.
Right. So your question, so my question again is, you're trying to, your goal is to raise the standard, and you're saying you want people to believe in country, and you want people to have civic engagement. And sir, I just find it very telling that you haven't had any civic engagement at all, and haven't been at all. And when I say sit around, I don't mean you haven't done anything. I'm talking about in regards to service, because one thing about political office, the same way that you want to change how people look at politics and look at this country, I want to change how people look at politicians. And when I see that someone hasn't did anything at all to be of service to mankind, to take a leadership role, it's not good enough to just be on city student council. Were you a leader? All of that applies. Have you been able to get anybody in the room at any time, from a high school gymnasium to Ohio, Republican leadership there to now? Have you been able to get anybody in a room to believe in this vision? I don't agree with a lot of your vision statement, but I do know you've been going around having these discussions and getting everybody emotionally worked up to talk about vision and debate. But I want to get to the practical. You're trying to go from preschool to president of the United States. You're skipping over city council, county council, mayor, governor. You want to go straight to the top. So my question is, this a PR? Is this for the PR, the perception of reality? Or can you point to any leadership where you've been able to get people to believe in what you're talking about that they're not paid to do on any of these vision statements that you have? If not, then to me, it's a moot point, because you're holding a standard that you haven't met yourself.
Vintage Y2K.
Yes.
Oh, retro Samsung.
What she reminds me of what a lot of pro-blacks do. It's like, I remember I was telling people, hey, go into computer science. Go into these different fields. This is what this reminds me of. It's very idiotic. And become an actuary. Get a math major. Become an actuary. They make a lot of money. And I'm not going to say his name, but a person told me that you do HVAC. Tell people that, because that's what you do. You can't tell somebody to do something that you haven't done. That's a lie. That's a damn lie. That's a logical fucking fallacy. Advice is not contingent upon whether or not you have personal or practical experience in a certain field. Oh, I can't tell you to do this. Hey, you should learn. You should pick up this language. Well, have you learned that language? So you can't tell nobody you learned? No. That don't make no goddamn sense. Advice is advice. So when she said that, that's what that conversation reminded me. You can't tell black people to go into these different fields. I'm giving them advice to better themselves. And that's why I told myself a long time ago, I was like, I'm not arguing with niggas to better themselves no more. That's dumb. I'm not even getting anything out of this. I'm not charging you or nothing. I'm just saying, hey, this is a field. Y'all ask, what should black people do? I'm like, go get skills. You can't tell black people to do what you ain't did. Huh? Tell them to be HVAC. There's other positions than HVAC that I think are better. You want to be on a hot ass roof? You want to be in a hot ass attic? I was in a hot ass attic this morning making money. You want to do that? You want to sweat your balls off every goddamn day? My job is to restore comfort, not be comfortable. Or you want to be in a cubicle some damn way making $160,000 guaranteed with a $20,000 or $30,000 bonus. You niggas just be talking. I got the experience in the field. I really, people, D-Rev like, oh, trade. Trades is dedicated. You got to be a dedicated motherfucker to do a trade. And that's the part we don't talk about. Yeah, some of y'all not built for it. Is you built to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, get your ass up and go handle a fucking emergency because this goddamn rooftop unit is leaking all over this office fucking space, and they can't wait till the morning because they gotta work and they gotta meet certain criteria. So you gotta get there at 3 o'clock in the morning, clean the shit up, find the problem and fix it. Some of y'all niggas not built for that. Some of y'all niggas not. So I try to give you advice to put you in the most comfortable fucking position. Because the position I'm in is all about discomfort. The plumber I know. When a pipe breaks and it's full of shit, you gonna go there and stop it? You gotta get hit with all that shit. Y'all not built for that. Hey, be an actuary, nigga. Go push a pencil. Go push a pen, nigga. Go do that. Use your mind. You can't tell black people to do something you haven't done. And then the other one, black people, because I remember Neil deGrasse Tyson, was ironically, he's African-American. He said, there's not that many astronomers. It's like only like 10,000 worldwide. I was like, oh, well, there's a niche right there. It's an open market. African-Americans always say, what can we do? What should we do? Crack into the astronomy field. D-Red gonna tell me. Ain't no black people in that field. Well, there'll never be any black people in that field with that mentality. Just because somebody has done something doesn't mean they can't require or ask or advise other people to do it. That's fucking stupid. That means no one can give advice to nobody because we haven't did every goddamn thing. Oh, well, this is the highest position. Let the people decide that. Let the voter decide that. And you don't even vote Republican anyway, so it won't be your decision. Who is Tyson? He said Tyson is an industry plant. No, she would not hold Obama to that same standards. Come on. Every African American is proud of Obama, no matter what he did. It has nothing to do with performance. It's all about the identity thing. Yeah, Trump didn't. He was not a career politician. He had none of that experience. But, to her, that's a negative if you brought that up, They hate Trump. Yeah, he did a way much better job than career politicians. I'd rather take a chance with Vivek than a career politician like Chris Christie. I don't trust Chris Christie. Sound like a plan any goddamn way.
Very impressive.
You think so?
At AT&T, it's worth a new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5. Any year, any condition. Even that condition.
So if you're only going to count government service, you're absolutely
No, not government
right.
service.
Okay.
Student council in the 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th. Were you a leader? Did you do anything to rally anybody? Did you fight for better lunch? I did in the 6th grade with Miss Harris.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about government. I can go all the way back from the 5th grade every year, sir, because people who are in service to this country, if you're going to go around saying you want people to believe in this country that I signed up to die for, then I want to make sure that you're holding that same standard. So not government, not political. Let's not get it confused. I'm saying, have you did anything of service that we can point to say he is a good leader, like Chris? And I'm not even a fan of Chris Christie, but he was the student council president in high school. So have you done anything of service besides yourself that has not benefited yourself? It's just a simple question.
So the acts of service that I have performed.
And the funny thing is, she said it has not benefited herself. You went to the Navy for free. That's your example of civic service. You went to the Navy. No, you got paid to be in the Navy or the Air Force, whatever branch she said she's from. Whatever branch, right? You got paid. You didn't do that shit for free. The country, the government paid you for your service. Everything we do is paid. These politicians are getting paid to do their job. They're not in the Senate just sitting there pro bono. They're not doing it for free. They have a salary. This point makes no damn sense. If this is the case, if this stipulation is applied the way she's saying it, then nobody in Washington should be there. Because all of them are doing a civic service for money. All of them. Makes no goddamn sense. But when you logically pick these arguments apart, they never do. It's just another attack on this guy's campaign.
Are small, so small that I don't even want to talk about them to boast. But yes, have I volunteered for this country? Yes, I have. I've always been interested in healthcare.
It's okay to talk about the small things.
I mean, these are small things, right? But thank you.
Oh, well, let's just mention it.
Bethesda North Hospital.
So it's really a no?
No, it's not a no. It's just something I don't like boasting about. I
well,
volunteer.
we're not boasting. It's an interview.
So
You're boasting on your vision and everything else.
I think
you boasted on the millions of dollars that you made. So let's just throw it out. So in sixth grade, I'll give you an example. I'll help you out. In sixth grade, Miss Harris, was let me give you an example because maybe you're confused. In the sixth grade, Miss Harris was snatching papers from everybody in the classroom. So me as a 10-year-old, I went to the principal and said, I'm tired of Miss Harris snatching papers. And I organized the students around getting Miss Harris to stop snatching papers. Now, there was a consequence for that. I got suspended for 5 days for talking.
So we should elect her as president. You president ready. Because you did that in the fucking sixth grade. Oh, you're a leader. Let's elect her as president. You understand? You should run with the DNC. You'll get far. Because you did that in the sixth grade. That's all you need. That's the prerequisite, y'all. In the sixth grade, I organized people to get Miss Harris to stop snatching our goddamn papers. I am a leader. I can lead the free world now because I did some shit in elementary. I was the line leader in kindergarten. So that means I am eligible. Not Vivek, me. I'm eligible to be president of the United States of America. Goofy shit.
Back and I got in trouble, I got a spanking, and I was on punishment for months and months. But that is a simple way of organizing people. So I want you to kind of boast about it the way you did the millions of dollars and said what you did with the pharmaceutical companies. What leadership can you point to that you've been able to rally anybody around anything that is of service that you did not pay anybody to do? I think that's important for the next president of the United States.
Sure. So I've always been drawn to healthcare. That's why I ended up founding companies in that space. When I was in high school, part of what drew me into it was that I was a volunteer at a local hospital. I actually became the leader of that group of volunteers that actually discharged women who had recently given birth. That was it. Nothing big to it.
Did you do anything we can point to stand out?
But I want to say something about that because I say that in the book. If I'm being really honest, why did I do that in high school? A part of the motivation, I'll be just brutally honest with you, was part of the motivation was that's actually what allows you to get into a good college when you graduate. Is you want to check the box of community service.
So it was about you.
So there was an element. So there's that's, and I'm admitting that in a way that very few other people do. But I got to be honest about it. That was a big part of why I did it.
Yeah, it was about self, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to give it back to the guys. I'm going to be honest about it with you.
Yep.
Leadership is not about self.
I agree with you on that.
What I just heard is that everything is about you. And to be honest with you, this is just a PR campaign, sir. To be honest with you, and I think you're trying to go further to the right because you want the Republicans to accept you as a man of color. And I think the only way you think you can do that is to be so extreme.
I appreciate your opinion
with your positions, and I think you need to do a little bit more work in service. I'll give it back to you guys. You failed the test, by the way.
Because she did ask me a question.
You failed the test, by the way, and you with the right because you're extreme. That was just a lambast session. You failed the test, bitch, and you're with the right. You're extreme, and you're being extreme because that's the only way that the Republicans will accept your brown ass. Charlemagne. Black people eating it up. Everybody that's watching, eating it up. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Fuck that nigga. The only party, the only competition against the party that's probably going to be the reigning champions next year, running the goddamn country all over again. This is what you gotta come up against this. You ain't gonna win. Because it's not about logic, it's not about policy, it's about these type of attacks here. You guys are extreme, you're fascist, you support Trump, you're just doing it. You're not because you legitimately think these things, because you want to fit in with the Republicans. And we already know how they are.
Question, and then you guys said you wanted to hear a response, but I think I heard an expression of opinion. So just I want to make sure you're all done before I respond to it.
No, just wanting to say that even then, I would still want you to point out, even at the hospital, something that you did that made you stand out on when actually taking a leadership role. But you already answered it. You said you did it because it was a motivation to get in college.
Exactly,
which means
and
it was
I'm being
about
very
you.
honest about that. But
everything has been about you. So as a veteran,
let me tell you something. I appreciate
it's very hard for me to follow leaders that make everything.
What do you mean? As a veteran, you went there. You probably got your college paid for. You benefited from it. You got paid. You didn't do that shit for free. You benefited. Stop playing, man. Y'all niggas is funny. Look at that face right there. Look at that face. This is what you got to wake up. Somebody waking up to that every morning, man. Pray for them. God damn. Nigga, you better not say a word. You better not go in there and leave a comment. You hear me? You better not oppose any goddamn thing I say. I'm gonna get on your ass. That's the face she making right now. And what was surprising, a lot of people was getting on her ass in the comments. Let me see if it's right here. Look, Vivek, I created life-saving medicine, the lady. But have you ever stopped someone from snatching papers in 6th grade? The lady is a perfect example of why our country is in the mess we're in. Amen. Vivek handled himself very well. The host loved picking the racism card, and I love Vivek's response to everything. They bullied him, and he stood strong and spoke up. She asked general questions based off her biases. Exactly. It says, I have nothing but respect for Vivek for not only sitting through the antagonistic interview, but for conducting a prime example of freedom of speech. Vivek handled that perfectly. This is a total embarrassment for the Breakfast Club. Actually, it's not, Harrison 1141. It's not. This is what they do. They always done this. They're doing their job. It says the fact that this woman views 5th grade class president as a better measure of leadership than founding and running $100+ million business is all you need to know about how valuable her opinion is. No, but he benefited from that. But she's using the fact that she served in the goddamn country. What she benefited from. Ah, man, they was roasting her ass. They were roasting her. I didn't get to read the comments on Larry Elder. They were roasting her ass too. It says right here, I am a black man from central Los Angeles, and I don't have a Republican or Democratic bone in my body. But the disrespect shown by the remote guest was embarrassing. I believe leadership experience is very important, and for a certain one of the many qualifications of a president or presidential candidate should have, that's valid. That point was made very well, but telling someone that the type of contribution they have made to society and humanity is not service, just because it doesn't fit your idea of what service is, that's just ignorance. Exactly. Vivek is amazing. He deserves to be on a better platform rather than the breakfast circus. But they're being told, you guys don't understand, they're being told to go on platforms like this to reach demographics that they normally don't reach, right? Because Republicans are ousted in some of these demographics, mainly the Black Americans. So they're being told to do stuff like this. Roland Martin called Republicans out and said, y'all never come to these places. Y'all care about Black people. Come to these platforms. But here's the problem. They're not welcome to these platforms. This is the type of treatment you're going to get. You're not going to get a fucking fair shake in an interview. Come on, man. They're going to set you up with this random-ass person. Who is this person? I've never seen her on Breakfast Club. To come in and chastise them and put them in their place. Vivek handled the disrespect and hatred more gracefully than I could. This interview was an abomination. The Breakfast Club's pathetic attempt to smear this man's campaign actually makes me want to vote for him. He definitely has my vote. It says, thank you, Taz. I guess that's the lady. Yours is the first truly combative interview I've seen on Vivek. I now know he can handle himself even with an interviewer who has zero standards of objectivity, who attacks him personally, all the while gaslighting that it's not personal. Vivek moves up in my personal rankings of candidates. Most could have not handled your ridiculousness so expertly. This catapulted Vivek on my list of candidates more than anything else I've seen. Great job, interviewers. Backfired on your ultimate goal. Yeah, see, everybody should see right through this shit. You're trying to turn this man down. Vivek, I led companies. I've developed medicines, 5 of which are FDA-approved products today. One of them is a life-saving therapy in kids, 20 of whom died by the age of 3 if they're not treated. 70% of them now live lives of a normal duration. Another one is for prostate cancer, the woman. Yeah, but were you ever a class president? Did you stop a teacher from snatching paper? They going in. That's enough of that. They going in. Look at that face, man. Nigga, I will choke the shit out of you if you see anything in here that embarrass me. That's the face you got right now. Nigga, if you oppose anything I say, I swear before God.
About them. So you might want to work on that because it's a lot of veterans and Republicans. So you might want to work on that talking point and maybe do some volunteering while you're on the campaign trail. I'm going to give it back to Charlamagne and Envy.
Yeah. Once I want to be respectful. Want to make sure you got everything you wanted to on the table before I respond to that.
If this was just us, it would be a lot more.
You guys tell me. I'm the guest on your show. You tell me when I'm good to speak.
Go ahead.
You sure? You sure about that? If we're good.
Yeah, we're sure.
So I think there's a different worldview that we have. And I think the worldview is how one actually makes contributions in a country. I do not believe that there's a separate category of just if you're serving the country and then if you're acting in self-interest, that's somehow sinful or wrong. I reject that vision. To the contrary, I think capitalism is the best system known to man to lift people up from poverty. I deeply respect and I thank you for your service to this country.
That's a fact.
I'm grateful for it.
That's a fact, man. Capitalism, man. Shit, that's what's going to build you up to, the freedom of the market, man, that anybody can tap into and make so much. A lot of people have already made so much money off of it and help their families grow. Socialism don't provide that. You want the government to own the means of production? Fascism ain't going to do it. Which, the left has been very fascist, telling people what they can and cannot sell and all this other shit. That's not communism. Not gonna fucking do it. Let me give you three things of rights. The government gonna determine what value that you bring in whatever position. They determine that. Oh, you a fucking electrician? I'll give you 3 things of rights today. Be happy. No, man, capitalism, where is that, man? You can hate it all you want, but that's why this country has the most black millionaires out of any other damn country. That's a fact. That's a fact. So I'm gonna ride with Vivek. I'm gonna ride with Republicans because they with that, man. The party that's against all capitalism and want to end it and say, oh, no, we're making too many billionaires. It's not fair. It's not fair. And it's so funny, the people that's saying they're rich as hell. They rich as hell. George Soros is a fucking billionaire. Zuckerberg is a billionaire. They are all leftists. Anyway, the government should be able to take that money from them. Force them to pay. They already pay 70% of the taxes. They already do. The middle class and everybody else pay 30%. It's just that 30% a little heavier on our wallets because we don't make millions of dollars. That's just how it goes. I paid enough taxes last year to pay for somebody's salary at goddamn McDonald's, man. Fucking 20. Well, they took 23, and then another 3. Like, oh, hell no, man. So it's just big on us because we don't make as much. But they still pay 70% of the taxes. I used to think like that, oh, no, the rich people don't pay their share. Actually, they do. Anyway.
I haven't served the country in the way that you have. But I think that the way you get ahead in capitalism, how did I develop a multi-billion-dollar biotech company? It was by developing medicines that save people's lives.
A lot of people say capitalism causes poverty.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Okay.
I disagree with that. I think that capitalism demands that you provide something to someone that helps them more than you're actually charging them for it. That's the only way.
That's
the
a
tried and
business
true
model,
way
sir. That's
it
not
is a business
service.
model. It's not, I'm not
That's
saying
not
it's
service.
I'm saying it's
But
having
see,
an impact on
an
society.
That's a business model, sir. That's not service. I thought you was done. You come right back in, the hound dog back on her job. That's a business model, sir. And I actually work in a trade that actually does what he's talking about. If your equipment not working and you're not cool and you're not warm in your house, you call me over, I come over there. I charge you to restore comfort in your home or business. Because I mostly do business. I do commercial. Residential, a little bit, but it's what he said. What he said is true. It's usually to help. Now you have crony capitalism, which is the opposite, but not all capitalism is equal. But the point is, I'd rather be in a capitalistic society than a socialistic or a communistic society.
Elected official is service. That's the disconnect.
That's right. So
that you're
now,
missing that they didn't
I'm
teach you.
moving on to there are phases of our lives where we do different things.
Well, you're moving straight all the way up to President of the United States.
I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't believe in hierarchies. The hierarchy is the way the bureaucracy works. I don't believe in so we have a difference in opinion.
You also don't believe in service, and that's where we're having a disconnect.
Well, I disagree with you on that.
And the word service does not mean for free. I provide a service with my business. I would go broke if I do everything for fucking free. That is silly. Silly, man.
I disagree with you on that.
I think it's whack that you're proposing to revoke voting rights for 18 to 24-year-olds unless they meet certain qualifications, but you never exercised your rights.
Well,
so long.
So most young people don't, is the whole point. Well, so, Charlamagne, let me ask you a question. Do you think
the largest voter turnouts have been over the last couple of elections? Few elections.
They still voted at a very low rate. But let me ask you a question. What do you think about high school students being required to pass the civics test? What's your perspective on that?
The one that you proposed?
The one that every immigrant has to pass in order to enter the country. If every high school student has to pass that before they graduate, what's your take on that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Okay, good. Now let me tell you something about the law as it exists today. Men in this country, not women, but men are required by law to register with the Selective Service, age 18 to 25. That's the draft. We don't have a draft, but men have to register. If you don't, they put you in prison. At least they can. It's a criminal offense if you don't. My view is I would decriminalize that. I don't like the government telling you what you can and cannot do. That's not the American way. But if you want to enjoy the civic privilege of voting, then I think it is perfectly legitimate to say you have to at least know something about the country or have served that country, one or the other. Absolutely. Now, I think that what do we actually care about, right? What do we, we can do the personal attack thing. We care about the country. We care about the country.
And that right there, that's the one thing I disagree with him on, is because voting is a right. It's not something that you have to earn. It's just a right that you have. But I do agree that it should be a part of the curricula to at least understand the country that you live in. You understand? And have some damn pride in it, man. Because that is a problem. And that's why I posed the hypothetical earlier. What if China did take over America and became the United States of China? What if that happened? Would you guys be satisfied with that since you hate America so damn much? Then what would that even look like? Shifting into a more communist, you can get rid of social media over with. You know what I'm saying? You can get rid of all this freedom you got on the internet because y'all spend most of your time on the internet. You know, it's more controlled over there. Is that what y'all want? You don't want people, oh, no, don't do a service for getting paid. Okay, I think China would agree with that. You should just do the service for the government, for the good of the government, the good of the CPR. Not for the betterment of you and your family, not for your own goals, but do it for the government. The founding fathers, they said it like, other countries, they make you serve the government. The government should serve you. That goes back to that restoring the ideal shit that he brought up in the beginning. Other regimes make you serve the government. The government should serve you, not the other way around.
Stone of democracy, though.
Voting is the cornerstone of democracy. I have not.
Sir,
Yeah,
excuse
that's
me.
right. And here's the thing. Here's the thing that's different.
Sir, excuse me, because this is important. We have to pause it. This is not a personal attack.
That's okay.
This is you, and I know that
it's exactly a personal attack. This whole episode was a personal attack. This is not a person. Usually when somebody say, I don't mean to be offensive, they're about to be offensive. So when they say it's not a personal attack, they know it's a personal attack. Come on, you talked about this man's whole career. He wasn't in kindergarten leading the shit. He wasn't a line leader in Miss Kathy's class. So therefore, he's demarcated and not allowed to be president of America. That was that whole spiel about. The whole goddamn spiel was to tell the world, or tell your viewing audience, that he does not fit the requirements.
as a Republican, you are certainly not soft. So this is not a personal attack.
Yeah,
this
I'm
is
okay with
asking
attacks,
about.
too.
This is about asking about your background and how it correlates, how it's relevant to saying you're going to serve this country, because president is actually.
So I have been an
serving
open book in the last
No,
3 years.
yeah, I know, and I'm
Absolutely.
going page by page.
And
but
I'm
it's not
saying
an
that I
attack.
have not-
I'm gonna let you finish.
Yep.
But I want to be clear. It's not an attack.
Okay.
Because you've been an open book, but that doesn't
Totally.
mean I have to like what's on the page.
That's fair
But
enough.
it's not an attack. I'm just reading the book.
Yep.
And so when I hear somebody say you need to get to either pass this test or do some type of service to the country, and I spend hours looking. You were in the Phi Beta Kappa. Did you have a leadership role in college, the honor roll? When somebody sets service as the standard and they've done no service except to themselves, that's a fair question. It's a question, and you just
So I've been on the. I mean, look, I was on high school. I was on high school student council. Yes, absolutely.
Were you a leader? Were you a leader?
I was a vice president of my high school student council. Absolutely, I was the
Okay.
president of the
Okay,
National
great.
Honor Society. I can go down the list. It's just that
That's
these are
what I
not-
was asking you to do. Go down the
Absolutely.
list. But
So
proceed.
I was a president of the National Honor Society. I was the vice president of my student council. I was a lead amongst the volunteers at the hospital where I served growing up. I was actually a leader in volunteer research over the summers from my senior
But
year.
all of that, but you already admitted all of that was to get into college.
Not
but
all
go
of
ahead.
it, but I am admitting it. I think that
I know
it's im-
that's
it's important.
self-service, though. I just do
A
you
lot of
understand the
that-
difference
a
between
lot of-
self-service
and
service?
I think the reality is, and I think we just all have to be more honest. When
We
many
do.
high school students are serving today, not all of them, but I think let's smoke it out. I don't like that structure where we actually
know,
mix
and I don't like the
service with
structure,
self-interest.
and I don't.
What's wrong with Vivek? I tell you, he's running to be president of the United States as a Republican. That's the problem. That's their issue.
don't like the structure of somebody saying somebody need to give service as a veteran. I don't like the structure of somebody
That's
going
fair,
to
and
the
we can
highest
disagree.
office of the land and have not served anybody at any time unless it was self-serving. So this is where we just have two different ideologies. And I know your
and here's
goal
my
was to come here and
perspective.
get into.
Here's
yeah,
my
I know.
perspective.
That's why
Let
we
me-
got
let me
different
sh-
perspectives.
Remember, two guys, he got to leave in 5 minutes. I know.
Hold
he
on,
has-
I'll let them wrap
Yeah.
up.
I know.
Let me just say,
Put a caveat on that, Vernon. Put a caveat. Black American women. Now, I don't think Black Ugandan women have this problem. I don't think Black Malaysian women have this problem. I think it's Black American women, that have, they're the least married demographic. But you're absolutely correct. This type of attitude, and it comes from this gynocracy view, because she's there to tell niggas, put niggas in their place, put people in their place, because if you think about it, in our communities, this is what we see. The ruling class is normally women. They the authoritarians, man. You just got to eat that. She grew up seeing men possibly just getting corrected or not there, and the person that had to take the authority role has always been women. Yeah, I had to hey, Vernon, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just throwing that caveat out there. Make sure they Black American women, man. I don't even think Caribbean Black women go through that. I don't think Brazilian Black women can say they, honestly go through that. So how else do you improve your chances for a scholarship without doing that? Like she's acting like, oh, it's a difference between service and self-serving. Well, actually, he did do a service in community by his landmark work in the field of medicine. That does service the community. Did he get rich? Yes. That's called nuance. Anyway.
Say one thing is here's my vision of the run for presidency. And this is why I say I'm an open book is my job is to make sure people in this country know who I am and what I stand for. And I think that very few politicians on either party actually get that job done. So what I say is I'm an open book about who I am and what I stand for. Whether the people of this country want to vote for me, that's their question, not mine. That's their job to determine, not mine. And you're free not to vote for me. I expect you won't, and that's okay. But I'm doing my job in the 3 books I've written over the last year, in the conversation I'm having with you guys, being far more honest than any politician that I know in the last 10 years in this country. And I think when I say we want to fix corruption, you don't know what the first step is. The first step is actually people being honest. So you guys know me. You know what I stand for. I haven't hit back on that. Whether the people in this country want to vote for it, that's their choice.
Do you want to unite the country?
I do want to unite the country.
So why is like one of your marquee campaign proposals making sure Black people can no longer benefit from affirmative action?
See, here's the thing. It's actually been a disastrous experiment over the last 60 years. I've seen the impact that it's had. Unlike a lot of other executives, I've had senior executives in my company who happen to be Black, senior executives in my campaign who happen to be Black. I actually went to a majority or close to majority Black school 1st through 8th grade. There isn't a single one of those Black kids or Black colleagues that could not have achieved everything I have in my life. I firmly believe that to be true. And I have seen the unfair discrimination behind closed doors, the things that people will say behind closed doors, about somebody who would have had that position anyway, but was unfairly tarred with the taint of saying they got it because of a race-based quota system. I think that's unjust to everyone across the board. And I think that the right way to do this is actually ensure equality of opportunity, educational access at an early age, which, by the way, we don't have in this country, starting at an actual young age. How about doing that in a way that's agnostic to race? That way we prevent seeing one another on the basis of a color of our skin, but we actually solve the real inequalities that we have when it starts with inequality of opportunity, starting with education. So my view is, I think my approach is actually going to be more successful in lifting up more Black Americans than have been the Lyndon Johnson approach of actually using race-based quota systems.
So if the Supreme Court does rule on affirmative action and they do ban it, who do you feel it benefits versus who it hurts?
I think that it helps everyone if they end race-based affirmative action in college admissions. I think
I agree with that, man. I agree with the agnostic point of view of looking at race instead of trying to categorize people's ability to do something based on what ethnic group they fall in. That is problematic, and it's always been problematic, and we need to get rid of that, and it needs to be targeted in the educational system first, because the kids are our future. This is why LGBT and these people are pushing all these initiatives to teach your children in the kindergarten level about homosexual sex and sexual preferences, because they know they're trying to mold and groom the next generation. And no one's the people that are fighting against it, y'all, they racist, these sexist. Yeah, but the whole point of being agnostic on race is a great point. Affirmative action does do more damage than good, especially for Black Americans. So it's crazy. It's crazy. So he think he being pro-Black by saying, "Oh, well, why are you against affirmative action?" He think he's being pro-Black, but it actually limits people. Trying to make these race quotas and shit limits people, man. Anyway,
it will literally help everyone in different ways because it restores merit in the United States. Are we perfect in ensuring equality of opportunity? No, we're not. The fact that kids are trapped by the zip code in which they're born, determining where they go to school, is a problem, which is why I favor universal school choice in this country, which has actually done more to help Black Americans than has any affirmative action program.
What's your thoughts on people saying that you got Don Lemon fired?
Vintage Y2K.
Yes.
Oh, retro Samsung. Very impressive.
You think so?
At AT&T, it's worth a new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5. Any year, any condition. Even that condition.
I think that the New York Times reported that. I had an open debate with Don Lemon. What CNN wanted to do with that is their choice. My view is, though, we need to start saying in public the things that people are otherwise saying in private. There's a gap right now in the country. Let's admit it. Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter.
Be careful with that, because a lot of people in your party going to start saying nigga out loud.
I don't think so, actually. And I would certainly hope not. I would condemn it if they do. I would condemn it if anybody does. All right. But what I think is we need to close the gap between what people say in private and what they say in public. That allows us to air our differences, and then we actually find unity that way. That's actually what I think unites the country, not creating this culture of hush hush, right? Say one thing in public and a different thing in private. And I do reject Don Lemon's premise. What did he tell me on set? He said, you can disagree with me when you have black skin and you've lived in this country, whatever ethnicity you are.
But
explain it
sir,
to me. I just reject that. I think we should.
Sir, let's just use a real example of just what everybody said. You said, people can have difference of opinion. They can have, you want to unite people. I gave you a difference of opinion as a veteran, and you came back and said that I was personally attacking you. And that is a way of gaslighting and basically, trying to set the idea that I was against you when I just had. That's the statement you made. And what I'm saying is, instead of us just having the debate, because see, I didn't talk about colors, which you probably expected when you came in here.
I did not.
Well, that's fine. I didn't talk about color. I didn't get all emotional about your vision, because I really wanted to just talk about what you've done in service, because you yourself has raised service as the number one thing that what people need to do in order to participate in the country that my ancestors built. And you said that I personally attacked you. So just to give you some advice, if you're going to say, hey, let's have difference of opinion, let's be able to discuss.
I loved everything you did. I loved the whole thing.
Because I had a question that it was a personal attack, because
it was. I don't think a question. I think this is great, because you know what I said? What's the job?
Did you say personal attack?
What's the job? Is everybody needs to know who a candidate is and what they stand for. That's the candidate's job. Whether you vote for them or not, that's your choice.
Did you say I personally attacked you, or did I hear it wrong? I just want to make sure.
I did not say you personally attacked me. No, I said we have actual good. I wanted to know whether or not we were actually able to. You said sit around for 20 years. I said I didn't sit around for 20 years, but that's okay. I think that, you know what? If somebody's running for U.S. president, I want to say this.
Well, you did. You did
stay
say,
out of the kitchen. So we'll come in.
We can keep
and we'll
going
handle
with the
heat.
personal attacks. You did say personal attacks, though. So let's be honest. Remember, that's your number one thing, being honest.
And I know you.
I agree with you.
I know you have to go, but I do disagree on what you said about affirmative action, because I feel like without that legislation, I don't think black people stand a chance. We had to create the legislation to even have a chance. And I don't know why you have faith that without that legislation, things will be fair or on equal footing for black people.
I think that most people who benefit from affirmative action are the immigrants who came after Kennedy's immigration reform in the 60s. They are not descendants of slaves. They are people who came as immigrants like my parents did. Mm-hmm. And so I just think it is a broken system to say that you look like someone to whom a bad thing once happened, and you're going to be favored over someone who looks like someone who once did a bad thing.
I'm letting it play, y'all, because I was looking for something I wanted to bring up in my library. So that's why I was letting it play through. Ezra says she got him. What did she get him on? The last part?
Your parents. You're wrong. I just want to make sure.
I did not say you personally attacked me. No, I said we have actual good. I wanted to know whether or not we were actually able to. You said sit around for 20 years. I said I didn't sit around for 20 years, but that's okay. I think that,
that was a personal attack. That's the definition of a damn personal attack. You ain't did shit, nigga, but sit around for 20 years and get rich. How dare you get rich?
What if somebody's running for U.S. president? I want to say this.
Well, you did. You did
stay
say,
out of the kitchen. So we'll come in.
We can keep
and we'll
going with the
heat.
personal attacks. You did say personal attacks, though. So let's be honest. Remember, that's your number one thing, being honest.
And I know you. I agree with you. I know you have to go, but I do disagree on what you said about affirmative action, because I feel like without that legislation, I don't think black people stand a chance. We had to create the legislation to even have a chance. And I don't know why you have faith that without that legislation, things will be fair or on equal footing for black people.
I think.
Oh, they dropped it. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Can y'all hear me? That's what you meant by she got him. Let me see if they can see me. Let me go to Genesis 49 and see if I'm live on my phone. Damn, dude. And they didn't even take down the other one. Okay. All right. Oh, so I'm back on now, man. Okay. All right. Oh, so I'm back on now, man. Damn. So I can't review any more of those videos. I let it run for like 2 minutes, man. I was just trying to I was trying to pull up, but I guess we done with that video then. They didn't do me like that last time. A lot of times when I'm letting the clip play, I'm letting it play so I can, like, because it was something I wanted to bring up. And I was reading through my library and I'm looking at the brother say she got him. And he laughing. I was like, oh, what point did they get him on? So I'm rewinding the video and shit. James texted me and shit. I was like, oh, shit. I think the most you can do is 1 minute and 30 seconds at a time. I'm usually pretty good at stopping the video. That's, I did pretty good last time. And damn, they clipped my ass. Shit. They ain't playing, bro. I was looking for it because I found the book by Dinesh D'Souza. And there was a statement he said about the Democrats that I want to share with y'all, that they had African Americans on a plantation back then, and now they have them on the inner city plantations. I was trying to find that while the clip was playing. That's why I didn't stop it. And shit, they heard them kill the stream. So I guess we're going to end here. And I'll just read that chapter to y'all another day. I'm out. I felt that Vivek did good. He stood his ground. He was in a hostile environment. He did what people told Republicans they need to do. They need to go to more platforms like that. And this is the result of it. You're just going to get met with malice. You're going to get met with bullshit. And you're not going to be able to speak because you're going to get interrupted and railroaded on all the conversation and talking points, even if you disagree with it. Now, don't run from what, dude? The show over with. You start a show and you do it. I'm going to bed. I'm out of here. Peace. I'm voting for Vivek if he's our only option. Hey, this actually happened before Larry Elder, and I'm mad I didn't know about it. I got introduced to Vivek through the debate. I watched the GOP, highlights, and he did real good, y'all. So I was like, oh, okay. You got some hope because this shit was looking gloom in this bitch for the Republicans. Shout out to the conservatives, man. We in this bitch. I'm proud to be American. What else can I say? Blackpill, man.
My niggas will take you got some. Ain't no figure where I come from. A lot of guns and a lot of drums. Bunch of shorties, they acting dumb. No guidance, they wildin'. All they see is red rum. We wildin', straight violence. That's where I come from. Free the guys where I come from. We them guys where I come from. Don't do that, we'll spank some. You know we'll face some. You know we'll lay some. You a lick, I'll take some. How I grew up, I can't fake nothing. If you get snatched, don't say nothing. Switch on the Glock, I'll spray some. Hop up with the chop, broad day some. Draco on the Glock, we'll lay some. Speaking on the game, we'll spray some. Police grab me, ain't say nothing. We get on your ass, better pray up. Better ask the last nigga try to play us. Locked up 23 and 1 waiting. I was told trust none. If it's trouble, go get your gun. All about making funds. Do a hit, now I'm on a run. I can't forget where I come from. I was taught trust none. Gotta watch them like where you from. Gotta make it, I come from none. I was taught trust none. If it's trouble, go get your gun. All about making funds. Do a hit, now I'm on a run. I can't forget where I come from. I was taught trust none. Gotta watch them like where you from. Gotta make it, I come from none.
4340, the land of the savage, you know we can't go for none. We from the slum, we be killing for fun. You could get smoked for none. in the land, then I'm on the lam, chillin' with Reese money. You send a threat, we confirming them checks, my killers get up on you. Back door closed, can't trust none. Switch dress you up like a button up. Did my time, ain't say none. Came home button like I'm Draymond. Stop it with them indirect ass tweets. You know how I get in these streets. Walk him down if he say it's beef. Number brand new SITs and fully AIPs. Got a whole clip full of RIPs. That shit that go through trees. All black and we got on skis. Man, Reese pop out on feet. He up, I up, we squeeze. We back to the block, don't speed. Double savage, you know how we bleed.
I was taught trust none. If it's trouble, go get your gun. All about making funds. Do a hit, now I'm on the run. I can't forget where I come from. I was taught trust none. Gotta watch him like where you from. Gotta make it, I come from none. I was taught trust none. If it's trouble, go get your gun. All about making funds. Do a hit, now I'm on the run. I can't forget where I come from. I was taught trust none. Gotta watch him like where you from. Gotta make it, I come from none. RP the guys that was one-on-one. RP OA was one-on-one. RP Mo, he was one-on-one. Ass stops for them, they gon' slump some. Old school, fuck around trunk some. Niggas be talking, ain't know none. Niggas be woofing, ain't at us. I get on your ass, ain't no let up. I just paid 2 X for the sweater. Back then, used to tote up Beretta. Bullets come through a ring, now you need an umbrella. Police grab niggas, now they get to telling. Shots ring out, now niggas yelling. Nowadays, everybody be telling. So ain't no telling. Lil' bro, take the case, I'm a felon. Try to get out, I ain't gon' let him. Fuck my old wall, found something better. Big 30 tucked under the sweater. 6, 8, 10, 4, I'ma hit him. Like somebody get him. 6, 8, 9, 5, I'ma hit him. Like somebody get him. I was told trust none.